listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Wow, it is Wednesday already. Can't believe it. Well, I have a beautiful view out my window. It's almost a square opening, and on the other side, it may be a carpeted cell, but in between, there's a wonderful cameraback lady who brightens up the studio every morning. So, like in the morning, it's Susan in the afternoon as well. One of you to be a part of our discussion. We're going to start off with our good friends from UCCI. At 12:45, Dr. Lyndon Swan, the pediatrician over at the HSA, will join us for a bit. And then at 1:15, we also have another discussion. Hey, you want to get a Swedish perspective? Well, I invite you to join us. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for joining us. And a quick reminder, 2 p.m., the daily press briefing is expected to be aired, and we'll take it for you live here on Radio Cayman, as well as you can watch it on CIG TV. So, with that in mind, let's get through our program. And as we go to our phones and welcome both Dr. Stacey McAfee and Miss Alison Angley. Ladies, good afternoon. Trust and pray that you're keeping safe and well.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Sterling. Lovely to be here.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I believe that we all, recognize the importance of education, not just its access, but what it can do to empower and how it can be positioned, especially in times like this when we can find, if nothing else, opportunity to read or reread some of the books that we wanted as we do our work. But to have UCCA, just right there now at a click, sometimes it's even that much better for us. So thanks for sharing with us and reminding us the importance of accessing education and using it to not just encourage, but as we share, to empower and uplift people as well. So Dr. Stacey, perhaps we start with you. We're seeing the utilization of technology increasingly in recent times, but especially now as we transition to teaching and learning in the virtual sphere. So what is UCCI up to?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm really proud to say that for a university that has been known as high touch and student-centered, we also are now employing high tech to ensure that we stay connected with our current students and potential students. Many of your listeners may not have known that when approximately a month ago, when public health guidance and the Ministry of Education announced the closure of schools, that while the UCCI did in fact close our physical campuses, we moved immediately to online teaching and learning as well as remote student services. So this was a really important way for us in the middle of our semester to make sure that our students and faculty didn't miss a beat. There's nothing worse than to have invested your time and energy into a program of study and not have the opportunity to continue it. So we're really excited about the fact that our students have made the transition, that the online platform seems to be working very well for students, and right now, many of them are engaged in final exams. It's a very unique time for us. Typically, final exams happen in Sir Basil Johnson Hall, but for the first time ever, final exams are being hosted online, and students are doing incredibly well in this new platform. So it's an exciting time as we finish one semester. We're gearing up to welcome students into a summer semester of a full range of online courses. So we encourage everyone to think about getting started. If you're not already a student at UCCI, this is a great time to invest in yourself and to make a difference in your community.
I think as you shared the whole notion that when we look at technology, say the online portals, for instance, it may make it convenient for individuals who have to work, who have to balance their other life's commitments, not to have to physically at times attend the classroom. From this perspective, though, when we're looking at classes and they're being conducted online, is it that how are the lectures, for want of a better word, I'll use that, are they sort of recorded and uploaded and you can reference it when you want? Are they scheduled that, just like how you would have class Monday, Tuesday, Thursday at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., so therefore you log on and see it live? Or is it a combination of the two?
Well, actually, what we tried to do is to create the best flexibility and also the opportunity for students to not miss a beat. So the original plan with most classes was that students would join their faculty in a classroom at exactly the same time that they would have done so if they were coming to the physical campus. And in some cases, faculty had multiple sessions of the same course going on, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and so they gave students the option of attending either session based upon what was best for them. And we've continued to be able to offer additional tutoring and lab services virtually as well. So to the point that you made, sometimes having to be at a certain place at a certain time physically can create a challenge for whether it's a working parent or someone who's balancing family responsibilities. So this is very simple. You click on a link and you enter a virtual classroom and you see your classmates as well as your faculty member and participate in many of the exact same ways that you would. We're also employing, though, other exciting resources like simulations and other learning materials. We're seeing that students are taking to this and really giving their voice in new and exciting ways. So it's very encouraged by the progress of the learning this semester.
Now, with respect to simulations, would you be able to briefly just expound on that further, how that would work? We know that as an example, in the old days where we would have case studies, so to speak, and you got into groups and you would review a particular, if it was a business class, the performance of a company, or you'd work on some project. But with the simulations which you speak, how do you envisage that working?
Well, simulations are one of the beautiful things that technology has enabled, because we've talked a lot about the importance of experiential learning, so learning by doing. And a simulation is technology enabled in the sense that it allows people to make real-time decisions and evaluate the actions that follow that in a learning modality. So I was just, for example, speaking with the chair for our computer science and engineering programs, and one of the ways that we're even using simulations is for internship experiences. So right now, obviously, we're all observing the curfew, but that means that students who might have been out at a placement with an employer aren't able to currently do that. So we're thinking about different ways to simulate those type of work-based learning experiences so that we can ensure that the rich learning continues.
And I think this is where we see the utilization of technology that's going to not only make it accessible to the students, but open up the platform for more students. Now, Ms. Allison, we'll just quickly pause and take a break. But when we come back, could we jump into the idea that, hey, summer's around the corner. This semester may be joined tonight, but others may want to get on board. Can we talk about summer registration?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, we invite you to join us after the break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Vamped Motors encourages everyone to stay home in compliance with our government's directives, which are absolutely critical to protect our islands from the coronavirus. In light of this, Vamped Motors will be closed until our Cayman Islands government gives us the all clear to return to work. Please, everyone, be safe and let's get through this together by staying apart.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman.
We are pressing for everyone to use their good conscience. Don't be selfish in respecting the suggested distance of 6 feet and the washing of hands constantly. Please check on your neighbors and especially our elderly. Also, persons who have chronic lung disease, diabetes, bronchitis, cancer, or asthma. Check on your family members and isolate them soonest as possible. I ask those persons who smoke, until it's clear, please do not put anything in your lungs that are not natural. You may well be increasing your risks. This includes vaping. Self-isolation is very important for our country's ability to bounce back quickly to some normalcy. This disease is not prejudice.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion, and we are honored to be able to have in the studio, via, it's like a virtual class almost. So we talked to our good friends from UCCI, Dr. Stacey McAfee and Ms. Alison Anglin. Thank you so much. We're getting used to this technology where you're here, but not physically.
We miss your smile, for sure.
Oh, thank you. At least that's one good thing about me, right?
For sure. There's many. We don't have enough time to name them.
Oh, you imagine if I sent you through some money? What good things you could be saying? No, but we also had a couple of questions coming through the break as well to ask about registration. One in particular that I think we would ask. But first, registration, we understand, has just opened. And like everything, one door opens, sometimes it'll close, but another door opens. So, Ms. Allison, would you be able to share with us about summer registration?
Yes, absolutely. So, I like to think that if one door does close, we're at least opening a window to certainly provide another form of access, right?
Yep.
So everything for us right now will be done online, will be done remotely, because as Dr. Stacey said, in accordance with that public health guidance, our physical campuses, both in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, are closed right now. So for current students, we're encouraging them to visit ucci.edu.ky/myucci, and at that point, they'll be able to access the summer schedule, and then they'll click on Blackbaud, they'll be able to go in. It's a really smooth process. What we're also facilitating is a number of payment options. So of course, you can't walk in like normal to us and make your payment, but you can call in over the phone. You can do your payment via email. If you bank with CNB or RBC, you can pay in the bank on one of your soft curfew designated days, or you can do an online payment much like you would pay CUC or a water bill. And we're also working right now to finalize our own online payment portal, so that no matter what bank you bank with, you can make that payment online in the comfort of your own home and know that that payment is being done securely. So we're really, we're opening, I think, a lot of windows, and we're encouraging Cayman to stay steady in the summer and be ready for the fall. So, invest in yourself, as Dr. Stacy said. This is now the time when we are at home, staying home, Cayman, to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in our community. And you can take this time now to sign up and do something that you've potentially always wanted to do, but you might not have had the flexibility to do it. And so to accommodate a lot of, new students who may be interested in joining UCCI for summer, we have extended the application deadline for summer 2020 to May 11th. And classes start on May 11th. So we've really, taken it back and said, we understand that some people might not be able to make that decision until the very end of April, when they can get a better handle on their finances. And you can make that decision at that point and then still continue, to apply online to UCCI, get your application processed, and then through one of our many payment options, you can make payments for those classes, and just get started on your educational journey, on your success story. And we're also offering payment plans as well. We normally always offer payment plans, but I think right now it's important to mention to people that you can do your classes. You can request a payment plan to allow for time to pay your tuition. And I think a lot of people will, appreciate that and be able to take advantage of that, whereas they may not be able to pay for their tuition upfront.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. I wanted to ask, you mentioned your students, but before, a quick question. So I'll take the last one first, so the accounting, last in, first out. Question was asking, what, for students who would normally have to pay, what is it a cost per credit hour? How are the fees assessed? So I'll just rephrase it, maybe per credit hour, is that how the fees are assessed, and what is the cost?
Yes, absolutely. So it is for degree programs. There is a cost per credit. Some classes have 3 credits, some have 4. So if you are a Caymanian, and as Caymanian we classify, there's a number of things that fall under that for us, but it's $55 per credit at the associate degree level for Caymanians, and then for international students, people on work permits, or you may be on a student visa, or you may be a dependent on someone's work permit or permanent residency, it's $135 per credit. So when you think about the fact that if you're a Caymanian, you can take a class this summer for $165, I think that investment speaks volumes. The quality of the education that you'll get at the cost that you're getting it for, I don't think you can find that anywhere else. Indeed. And it's through, the support of the Ministry of Education that we can do things like that, because we have our purchase agreement and things are supplemented through that we can really, as the nation's premier tertiary education institution, we can make education affordable for everyone.
And accessible.
And accessible, So it's not just about equality, it's about equity. And I think those types of things help to level the playing field a bit, and really allow persons to take advantage of an excellent local education. And now is really it's the perfect time to start that, because there is so much uncertainty. The one thing that you can control is the things you invest in for yourself, the things you do for yourself. And as you may be a parent and you may be at home teaching your children now, it's the perfect time to also show them and lead by example, if you've never had the opportunity to do so before, to take a class online yourself. So I think that's a beautiful, symbiotic relationship.
Indeed, yeah.
And it just really speaks volumes about us being able to educate our people. And when I say our people, everybody on this island has the ability to study at UCCI once, you are legally here. So literally the only people that can't study are persons on visitors' visas. And that is, a fairly small amount when you think about it in the grand scheme of things.
And exactly. And so most of your classes are probably 3 credit hours.
Yeah, most of them are 3 credit hours. Our bachelor degree classes are a little more expensive. So it's $200 per credit hour at a total of $600 for Caymanians, and $300 per credit hour for international students at $900. But again, think about paying $6,000-$7,000 per semester, $10,000 per semester abroad as a Caymanian versus, being able to pay in the summer here $1,200 for your classes, depending on where you study, of course.
Right.
But again, still the value for what you're getting, I think is unbeatable, to be honest.
Okay. Now, as we speak to Ms. Alison Anglin and Dr. Stacey McAfee, the President and CEO at UCCI, a question in relation to new students and the like. Is UCCI requiring students to provide some sort of confirmation that they're Caymanian or have the right to be Caymanian, those certificates that caused that uproar some time ago?
Well, we actually did introduce that in our application process. Specifically, we were looking for it to roll out for the fall 2020 semester because we do recognize that, they have to provide it for the scholarship secretariat if they are applying for a local government scholarship. The deadline, by the way, which ends April 30th. So a plug there if you are a Caymanian.
Thank you.
And looking to study, with UCCI this fall, I encourage you, start that application process now. You do have to go through layers, and you want to make sure that you give yourself the time to do so. But yes, so we did initially plan to incorporate that. Given the situation right now, of course, everything is happening remotely for a lot of people, work included. So we will be using our normal processes of requesting, passports and those types of supporting documentation. If you already requested that letter because you may have been applying for a government scholarship, or you may have been applying to a job and they were requiring that for you, I would encourage you to still upload that to our page, to the application page when you're going through that process. But know that it will not prevent you from being admitted to UCCI in the summer or fall 2020 semester, depending on whatever happens down the line, because we have done without it for a number of years. And we are very diligent with making our checks and, having our I's dotted and our T's crossed. And we stay in frequent communication with immigration on a number of issues. So, if we ever need to check anything, we're pretty good at doing that. So,
okay.
Yeah, just rest assured that won't, that won't prevent.
Dr. Stacey?
I was just, if I might add to Allison's excellent information, the other thing to understand is that the local scholarships are open to anyone, any Caymanian. So sometimes as an adult learner, you might perceive that scholarships are not necessarily available for you to begin or complete your studies at UCCI, and nothing could be further from the truth. And you think about the whole, we're offering in the summer a whole slew of programs, including associate and bachelor's degree programs, certificate programs, and technical vocational education and training courses, because we know that the nation building work needs to continue, and people are busily thinking about how to reskill and upskill, or to just dig into learning in ways that they've wanted to do for a long time, but really didn't find the time. And I also believe that we can serve as role models, as Allison said, for our children. It warms my heart when I hear about all the families that are huddled together studying at the same time. So many of you might want to be teachers in the future as you're actively engaged in supporting your students' learning. And I would just like to also say that UCCI is, as a national tertiary institution, we are a resource for our community in many ways. So first and foremost, obviously, we hope to provide you with education throughout your life. But additionally, we're looking for ways right now to share the expertise of the UCCI faculty with our community. So, for example, our School of Education offering strategies for those who have suddenly become the first and foremost educator for their family. Like, what are some of the tricks and tips that teachers know that allow you to really feel even more confident supporting your students? So that's just one example, but we really are excited that this moment in time is bringing us all together in new ways.
Well, this is, one of the things, and we're very, very grateful that you were able to come on. And certainly the invite is there to join us as often as possible in order to ensure that people, even in this time, keep education as at the forefront of their own development, but certainly for their children in particular, and employers. Now, as we close out our discussion, are there any final thoughts, Dr. Stacy, you may want to share, and Ms. Allison?
Well, I think what I would just say also to students is that you can be certain that in addition to admissions and registration, that all of the support services and resources that you enjoy at UCCI would still be available to you. So that's anything from student life, IT, administrative services, and we're making ourselves available obviously through email, by phone, virtually. Last week I was able to connect with some students on Teams and just check in and see how they're doing. It's a real opportunity for us to build community, and virtual has an enormous number of benefits, but we also recognize that you want to hear and see the faces of those at UCCI that you know and love. And so we're working very hard to make sure that all those platforms support the type of relationship that we want to have with our students.
Well, thank you. And as you shared, Ms. Allison, this is the perfect time to either continue or to pick up those studies. It's the summer, and many of us probably finding it to be a different summer. At least that's the way it's shaping. So any closing thoughts, Ms. Allison?
Yes, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows how to contact us at UCCI. So our email address is www.ucci, not email address, our website is ucci.edu.ky. If you are a prospective student and you would like to apply, it's ucci.edu.ky/admissions, and you just hit that apply for admissions button. If you'd like to give us a call, it's 1-345-623-8224. And if you'd like to email us for questions, it's info@ucci.edu.ky. And I also just want to encourage people to make sure they tune into the press briefing today at 2 p.m. because the Minister of Education will be on via Zoom, and she'll be providing an update on education in the Cayman Islands. So I think that, it is important for us as a community to make sure we're tuning in each day to those press briefings to stay up to date with what's happening in the Cayman Islands.
Well, thank you very much. And as you shared, the deadline for local applications, the scholarship applications are in this month. So thanks for reminding us, Ms. Allison.
Yes, absolutely. So apply for that local scholarship by April 30th if you intend to join UCCI in the fall semester. And our summer semester application deadline is May 11th, with classes also starting May 11th.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you to Dr. Stacey. And hopefully we have a chance to chat with you guys very soon again.
Okay, thank you,
Sterling.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks
You
for
too.
all you're doing to spread the word and to keep us connected.
Amen. Well, you guys stay safe, and we look forward to chatting with you. To our listeners, we're going to pause, take a short break. When we return, Dr. Lyndon Swan, one of the pediatricians over at HSA, will be your guest. We get a chance to talk about, this pandemic in relation to infants and children in particular. And we'll be able to share with you more some of the things transparent at HSA in relation to the pediatric clinics. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Digicel's Shake to Win is back. Every Saturday, Digicel is giving you a chance to win LTE handsets, cash prizes, data, D-Music subscription, gas vouchers, grocery vouchers, and that's not all. Every week, you get a chance to win a $5,000 regional prize. Don't miss out. Simply download the new My Digicel app, activate a plan if you're not already on one, and shake to win every Saturday. It's that simple. My Digicel. More made simple. Terms and conditions apply.
Need to make an essential outing for personal care items or prescription refill? Make ValueMed Pharmacy your stop for essential products. Open daily under new curfew restricted hours. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or in Boddentown. Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Boddentown location opens at 8:30 a.m. and on Sundays and holidays 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. A maximum of 3 customers allowed in store, and customers are encouraged to maintain social distancing while shopping. For faster prescription service, order online through value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Hello, K-Man. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Social distancing. Well, that means you're to keep a distance of 3 to 6 feet away from the person next to you. Or in layman's term, if you can see the color of the eye next to you, you're too close. Una got it now? If una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is K-Mankind.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. 1-800-534-8255. We certainly invite you to call and share your thoughts, especially as we have an opportunity now to speak to the pediatrician over at HSA and the deputy head of pediatric department, Dr. Lyndon Swan. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon, Sterling. Thanks for having me on to talk about this pandemic, COVID-19 in children. Very often kids are neglected in situations, but it's good that we can focus on what's happening in the pediatric population today.
Thank you very much, and thanks for allowing us to be able to, keep at it until we finally can get you on with us, and our apologies for being able to miss the opportunities previously. So, as you shared, though, now when we look at children, sometimes, unfortunately, in some cultures, we, as you shared, don't give children the same level of deference. We don't give them the same level of priority. We don't extend to them the same voice that we probably, in hindsight, probably should have. In this instance, is there a difference when it comes to children versus adults as to how we identify how this thing presents, how it affects them?
Certainly, and I think this pandemic, COVID-19, is certainly showing that what we all aware of is that children are just not small adults. They're not just, but they're children are children.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing the presentation in children is quite different from how it presents in adults, and therefore the conditions can go sort of neglected. Because children can in most cases, we are seeing the studies coming out from China, the United States, the CDC, and most pediatric associations showing that the presentation in children is mostly, they can be asymptomatic. Some kids can be asymptomatic, or they can be just mildly symptomatic. It's believed sometimes it's more like pre-symptomatic before they show the symptoms. And even if they get the infection, it's more a mild form of the disease, and rather than what's shown in adults, the adult population who are severely affected. We've had a handful of deaths in the pediatric population, 14 years old, 15 years old, Belgium, the UK, a few in the United States, but nothing like what we're seeing in the adults population. It therefore shows that what's happening in the children is quite different from what's happening in the adults.
With respect to children, two things. Those, in our younger population, our children that have succumbed, are we at the stage yet to know whether there were underlying health conditions that may have contributed to their early demise?
That's a good question, because like the 3 deaths so far reported by the CDC of children among the 50 states when they gave their data last week, when they gave their first report,
Mm-hmm.
It was children who had underlying conditions, leukemia, interception, and so on. So they were kids with underlying conditions. The other side of the coin is that, of the kids that demised, the 13, 14, 15 years old, you never knew if they had an underlying condition. Therefore, very often, and it's very important that we all take this seriously, because you never know when you have an underlying condition and you're vulnerable. You might appear healthy. You might say, well, I can take this chance, take this risk. You never know what's happening there. There's underlying condition that is only discovered when you are really down with a severe infection. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important that we all take extra care, and this is something we all should take seriously. But a few of the cases did have underlying conditions, and we're taking extreme care with the kids which we know are vulnerable, like our patients who are on chemotherapy and they are immunosuppressed, kids who might be on high doses of steroids, they might be immunosuppressed, kids who have underlying chronic health conditions like severe diabetes or sickle cell and severe asthma, etc. We're taking extreme care with them, calling to see how they're doing. So underlying conditions do pose an additional risk, we know, even in the adult population. And also in children.
In children. As you were sharing, I was thinking about the 18-year-old in the UK. I believe he was 18. That was initially reported as their first case, and the media, sort of the global media, was in a frenzy. And then shortly thereafter, after the test came back, the hospital issued a press release saying, there were some underlying conditions, but that did not get the same or little or no sort of media attention. Are we at risk that we're perhaps when we're sharing the information with the public, the media that is, that we're not being as exhaustive and as accurate and as timely with information to ensure that, when we tell about the children's situation and when they succumb, that we're giving accurate information, compared to the case to the UK in the early days?
Right. It's not always easy. It's a challenge, in the media, because a story has to be interesting. It has to be sensational.
I thought it just had to be accurate, man.
Exactly. We have to be accurate, and so it's trying to find that balance, and we find a lot of that. And in fact, one of the things we have to guard against in this pandemic is, that sensationalism, excess feeding off of negative information and too much information and negative. It's very important, and in fact protect us as adults and also protect the children. So I understand in terms of, everybody wants to rush the press with the news, and then you might not have all the information. But you're right. These kids could have had underlying problems, and which caused they are predisposed to severe infection and unfortunately caused their demise.
Right.
And that's why we all need to be extremely careful. You never know when there is something there.
So, Dr. Swan, after we come back from our news break at 1, can we maybe talk about perhaps children a little bit more, maybe the management of it, perhaps looking at some of the other things that you share, and mother and child in particular, as we look at the newborns? Can we have a chat about that after the break?
Absolutely.
Okay. Dr. Lyndon Swan, HSA pediatrician. When we come back, we'll talk more.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news. Access
to information. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The 2020 edition of the Cayman Scholarships Directory Guide is now available online with full details of the scholarships that are open to local students. The purpose of this directory is to guide students through the process of selecting and securing a scholarship or funding. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. President Donald Trump has been heavily criticized for halting funding from the World Health Organization amid the global coronavirus pandemic. Philanthropist Bill Gates, a major funder of the WHO, said it was as dangerous as it sounds. President Trump said on Tuesday that the body had failed in its basic duty in its response to coronavirus. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel has announced plans to slowly ease restrictions brought in to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. Social distancing rules will stay in place until at least May 3rd, with Ms. Merkel also strongly recommending people wear face masks in public. But as of next week, shops under a certain size could open their doors, and schools will start to reopen from May 4th, with priority for students who have exams. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And again, thanks for this continued partnership with the Health Services Authority. The pediatrician and deputy head of pediatric department, Dr. Lyndon Swan, is our guest. Again, good afternoon and thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks.
And as we were sharing prior to the break, when we were looking at COVID-19 and infants and children and perhaps the presentation and the like, before we go on to maybe the questions we were asking in relation to their interaction and treatment and then the mothers and newborns and the like, could I ask, I was thinking about it earlier, very early on, we were hearing that it said that this didn't affect children, or we were sort of given that. Any desire to speculate as to why we would have thought that something like this would not have affected children in adolescence?
Right, it's because of the presentation in children, in which these children are were just somewhere asymptomatic. The studies in China of when you had tens of thousands of adults affected, the studies in China showed that just a handful of kids they were evaluating, and some didn't have symptoms when they actually tested contacts, and they just found they have a positive test with a very few, and some were just have very mild symptoms with mostly like upper respiratory tract symptoms, a little runny nose and stuffy nose and so on, not the type of cough and severe respiratory symptoms you see in adults. So it's believed that we were missing quite a lot of children who might have been more what we call facilitators of this viral transmission. So the role children play is basically might be facilitating this transmission. They're important in the community spread. And therefore, that would also be important in terms of, reopening schools and so later on as the government and public health authorities grapple with that. Because kids are an important part. They form an important link in the transmission chain and community spread. And that's because of asymptomatic few, mild symptoms that can go missed if you're not looking for it, just a little stuffy nose or runny nose that we see with kids all the time. And then this is what we've been seeing worldwide. So very early on, this could have been missed and not picked up because they didn't have those severe, they weren't as sick as the adults.
I mean, we know, as you share, children are resilient and resourceful. They certainly will have something, and rarely would you see them, as the parents say, just thrown down on the sofa. They're out and about and not give them much thought. Now, with that, when we look at newborns, what is the approach for the management of newborns to mothers who are sort of COVID-19?
Yeah, there is some variation in the protocols, in different academic institutions, but generally it's believed that breastfeeding, there's no vertical transmission per se. Like in HIV/AIDS, it's transmitted to the newborn through the placenta, so that baby can be born with the virus passes right through and the baby is born infected. In this case with COVID-19, it's not believed that there is this vertical transmission. So if it's not believed that the virus passes through the placenta and the baby becomes infected in utero. However, a few cases have been seen in which you've seen infections early, like at 24 hours of birth and 36 weeks of birth, which could have been an infection after birth of, secretion, saliva, etc., after birth. So it was more like not a vertical transmission in the sense or in utero transmission, but more like a contamination after birth.
Okay. So for those mothers who would want to breastfeed, for instance, have there been any studies to indicate whether it's present in the breast milk?
The studies to date don't really show that it's present in the breast milk, but we're in early days yet.
Yeah.
However, saying that most of the recommendations is for breastfeeding or breast milk to continue. The benefits of breastfeeding is immense. It's so important, and it's believed that if you have a mother who might have contracted COVID-19, she might be secreting what we call IgA, which is antibodies to this virus in her breast milk, which can probably offer protection to that baby. And so there's some amount, and in fact, I don't want to go into the studies, but there's some of the studies now saying, we can harvest some antibodies from breast milk. But the truth is the breast milk might offer some protection. Bearing in mind, you have to be careful with that vertical transmission. So hygiene, hand washing her the mother, if she wants to breastfeed or express her breast milk, proper hygiene, hand washing, wear a mask, etc. Distancing whenever necessary might be useful. But if mommy wants to breastfeed, we have to facilitate that. That bonding and that breast milk is so important.
Indeed. And as you shared, this is still early days. I think this is going to be a discussion in many of our classrooms, from philosophy to economics to psychology to the health sciences, for a long time. But the idea of separation of mother and newborn, we know the bonding is something that we've been told to date. That's the best thing. Get the child and mom together as quickly as possible and safely as possible. In this instance, should we still do that, or what would be the protocol?
Right. Most of persons will err on the side of bonding, and it's so important, and breastfeeding. And as we said, it's still early yet, but we haven't seen the virus in breast milk. We haven't seen vertical transmission. So it's sort of safe to say we would want that mother to bond with that baby, taking necessary precautions, covering her mouth, proper hygiene, etc., and facilitating that bonding and giving all those numerous benefits of the breast milk.
Now, I know we've seen some graphics to indicate, just for the general public who are not, in the medical sector, here's what the common, cold looks like. Here's what COVID presents. Influenza versus, COVID-19. But with that, and given that this is still early days, are there things that you could share with us as parents, whether it's our newborn, whether it's their infants, or even our young children, that we should be looking at in the early days, not necessarily looking out to the flu hotline in and of itself, but just, this isn't just a regular thing.
Most of the kids who have shown infection or had infection it was mostly from adults or contacts, and however, as I said, this clinical picture in children can vary, and mostly it's upper respiratory tract symptoms, and it's believed to be one of the reasons why children don't suffer much. It's believed that adults have a greater number of what we call ACE2 receptors in their lower airways, whereas kids don't have so much. And because the kids don't have so much of ACE2 receptors in their lower airways, the virus has no place to attach and to get into the cells as in the adults, and so the kids mostly have upper respiratory problems, runny nose and stuffy nose and sneezing. And so it's believed the symptoms, and also in some children you might have, we see kids with diarrhea and some symptoms that would be important for adults and grandpa who would be helping with cleaning the kids and their diaper changing and so on going forward. So there might not be too much of symptoms in terms of the children, as we said, asymptomatic, but those few might mostly present with upper respiratory tract symptoms.
Now, with this coronavirus, COVID-19, do we know apparently there are different strains. Do we know what strains exist here in Cayman?
I don't think they've been able to, but public health will be able to tell us, or the lab. I'm not certain about that, if they have been able to identify the strain, but that would be interesting to know if it's what strain it is. These viruses have a way of trying to outsmart the human race. I mean, we've seen like the last flu season here, we saw how the influenza viruses were presenting from month to month. They were coming with different presentations, like from November, December, January. November, you had kids coming in with, let's say, seizures. November month, and the flu switched on us and presented, kids were coming in with very low white cell counts. Some look as though they had like a leukemia. And then the viruses switched on us again by January, and kids were coming in with muscle pains, like they coming in couldn't walk. So these viruses have a way of really trying to keep ahead of us.
Is that unusual? I mean, historically, have you seen that sort of presentation, from one year to next over the studies that we've seen, or this year, or this last, 6-8 months, the presentations have been different from what I gather, as you just described?
In the flu, regular flu
Yeah.
influenza.
Yeah.
We've been seeing influenza A and B, and the tests we've done here in the hospital have mostly brought up influenza A and B, and we've seen variant presentations. And we were discussing that we have to be on the alert. It's like a bait and switch with how these things are working.
Yeah. And that's normal from flu season to flu season, or this year, this particular time, there has been a. As I gather.
It was interesting that it was noted this year, at least when we looked at it.
Yeah.
And the data we put together with the lab results that we were having.
Yeah, which is what I gathered from. And these are things where people, whether they get in epidemiology or whether they just look at the demographic distribution of different things, how it affects. It's good for analysis in hindsight, but maybe it'll help us to inform policy going forward.
And there are three reasons proposed why these children might have this milder disease. And one we said is the ACE inhibitors in their lower airways are less than in adults. So adults have more ACE inhibitors in their lower airways, and that makes it easier for the viruses to attach and get into the cells and cause a lot of damage to the lower airways, whereas kids have less. And it's believed that when you're more in age, it's a concept of immunosenescence, in which your immune system is not sensitive and active as what the younger children might be exposed to. Bearing in mind, there are some coronaviruses that cause common cold, and this one is a new one, novel coronavirus, so the body is not accustomed to it. But there are a few coronaviruses which kids have been exposed to, and so it's believed that the immune system can recognize this new one because they are accustomed to these older ones, so to speak. That's one of the theories behind it also, in terms of them having less this milder disease. And then there's the concept of the cytokine storm, in which adults are believed they can react vigorously. Their immune system can overwhelm their bodies, and children don't have that problem in terms of their immune system overwhelming their bodies.
Yeah, that cytokine storm, that was something that I've been trying to understand, just for my own edification, to read it, and then it comes down to what I gather, and so guide me, hope I don't confuse. It comes down to our lifestyle, health and wellness and nutrition, of how we sort of take care of ourselves. So rest and sun and proper exercise and good diet and nutrition, proper sleep, all those things can help us to be healthier. The basics, huh?
Yeah. And if you read the 1918 Spanish flu, that pandemic, the younger, healthier people were the ones who were extremely vulnerable, and it's because of that cytokine storm phenomenon, in which you were so healthy and your body was so reactive and vigorous that you become susceptible to the body, or your immune system overwhelm your body. And young people, whereas we are seeing the older folks are more vulnerable in this pandemic, in the 1918 Spanish flu, the younger people were extremely susceptible and vulnerable. It's believed that was the concept. But we should not, however, run into a false sense of security with the children, because some of the studies show that the children under 2 years old, 1 year old, the younger infants can have severe disease. So though generally children have mild disease, if the very young ones contract this illness, it can be bad. So we have to be very careful, not let our guards down. This is serious.
If I may ask, and it'll be my final question, certainly be guided by you. Again, just reading and trying to understand. We understand the importance of vitamin D, in particular fresh air and sunshine in young people. So getting us outside, the proper sort of doses of the sun. Your perspective on that, Dr. Swan, it seems that fresh air, clean, fresh air, good outside, sunshine, would do well for our clothes, to be on the lines, for our bodies, for our eyes, for our skin, for our mental health, for us to get out there and, smell the breeze and walk a little bit and get a little exercise, but get the sun on our skin.
Yep. Yes, so important. I think this is bringing home the importance of just generally good health and prevention. I mean, we don't have a cure, and prevention, staying in good health. And I had here in terms of how do we help? Adequate nutrition, proper hydration, adequate rest, etc. I mean, being in the hospital sometimes, just to get some fresh air, I take off my mask and I walk outside and get fresh air and get some sunlight and some fresh air every now and again. It's hard to be under this mask all day. Honestly.
Exactly. Well, with that, and I'm mindful, but just thinking out loud, because I'm glad you share that. I do the same thing. We go outside sometimes just to, inhale just to get outside. And
it's important.
You're right. So we're limited to 90 minutes of exercise. Other than that, you're sort of cooped up inside, as it were. Could we be doing ourselves, whether deliberately or unconsciously, a great disservice by not, again, social distancing, I think in this instance would be helpful in the short term, but by not being outside as much as possible, getting, adequate, if I may use the word, dosages of the sun and the fresh air, as opposed to just 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's I guess, the public health authorities, the government, and I must commend, I think the authorities are doing a great job. It's really commendable what is being done to control this infection. It's not easy on any of us, and when we see what's happening worldwide, the sacrifices have to be made, and it's not easy. So I think it's finding that balance, Sterling, in terms of,
yes, sir.
Social distancing, not having crowds, etc.
Right.
Because by the time you go out there, people want to come around our running group. Everybody want to assemble together, etc. And so I think it's that balance they're trying to find. But yes, exercise, you can't go wrong with that, and some fresh air.
Okay, I did say one final question that was last time, but this is the supplementary to that question, if you permit, right? We understand there's no cure, presumably as yet, as we shared, but we have expressed the importance of proper hygiene, the hand washing, especially, like you said, if we were dealing with young children, you have to change their diapers, some call it the nappies. We want to make sure that we're practicing proper hand washing. So with that in mind, if we can effectively deal with it with proper hand washing, the good soap and water, disinfectant and the like, but there's no cure for it, is that somehow conflicting?
In terms of,
if we can kill it by good soap, hot water, and a disinfectant, but we're saying there's no cure.
Okay, right. But you see, that is it, you want to prevent the virus from getting into the body, and the virus goes through your mucous membranes, the mouth, the ear, nose, etc., eyes, etc., and then it goes into living cells. Once it gets into living cells, it replicates in living cells. The hands and so on, washing with soap and water, you get rid of that virus and prevents it from getting into living cells. So once it gets into living cells, those living cells in your airways, it replicates, it confuses the cells and use them, abuse them, I would say, and use them to make its own proteins. So, but once it doesn't have access to a living cell, it wouldn't survive, and that's why you wash your hands, get rid of it, etc.
Right.
So it does help a lot with hand washing, social distances, so the spread wouldn't continue.
Right. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking this time and being so willing to share with us. Any closing thoughts, Dr. Swan, you may want to?
Finally, I think it's a challenging time for all of us, and we need to all appreciate what is being done and social distancing, taking our care. Just to say that parents have a little challenge at this time, and we need to just help the kids to stop too much of boredom at home, preventing boredom, addressing their fears, giving them some more attention where possible. We need to avoid the overconsumption of bad news. That is not good for any of us, and much so more children, And parents, we need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the kids. It's very important. And just to say, finally, at the HSA here, we've, been doing some telephone triage with the parents, looking at our vulnerable population, seeing that they're doing well, etc., and keeping in contact with them, having their refills, etc., and we're looking out for the kids. And we're just about to reschedule the immunization clinics.
All right. Well, thank you very much to you, to all of your colleagues, the nurses, the support staff. We can only begin to imagine the immense, stress and pressures and the changing circumstances under which you're working. But thank you all, and I believe the community is starting to appreciate how important it is for us to continue to invest in our health and our education, and make that be paramount. So thank you very much, sir.
Most welcome. Thanks you, Sterling. Thanks for listening, public. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to continue this partnership with the Health Services Authority. We've been doing this now for a long time, and I believe it's going to bode well as we continue, sort of operating under this particular regime. We're going to pause and take a break. But when we come back, hey, let's join our friends from Sweden. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
This is JJ the Iceman. This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins. A magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Cayman, 8 to 10.
Music
on
Express.
Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express.
Brought to you by the Anti-Money Laundering Unit. Join the fight and learn more about financial crimes. Visit the Anti-Money Laundering website at amlu.gov.ky.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken share.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken share.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me?
The new chicken share from KFC, just $12 each, and it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Shelter in place. Stay home. Stay out of Johnny Public. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
The Cayman Islands government would like to remind the public that e-services are available for vehicle license renewal, trade and business licensing, police clearance, and other transactions. Skip the line and apply online. E-services are user-friendly, efficient, and most important, you can apply and pay from the comfort of your home. Visit eservices.gov.ky.
Home, which should be a haven, can even be less of a safe space during curfew if someone is experiencing child abuse. If you or anyone you know is being abused, help is nearby. For emergencies, call 911. They will redirect your call to the relevant agencies. For general guidelines and inquiries, call the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, MASH, at 1-800-534-2273 or 945-0545. Alternatively, email mash@gov.ky.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Essential staff, police officers, immigration, customs, doctors, nurses, first responders, they are essential staff. So if you got to ask, then you ain't. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're gonna try something different. It's gonna be an excellent discussion as we get a chance to welcome to our studio, via our technology, Miss Natalie Baldwin joins us. Good afternoon, Miss Natalie.
Mr. Sterling, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to get into it, but I want to make sure I have everybody. So on the line equally, Miss Wynn, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to you keeping me in check, okay? And Miss Ida, good afternoon.
Hi.
All right. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Okay, listen, I got accused earlier this morning of being handsome, so I don't know whether the person needed to change their glasses or they were just being overly generous, so I'm doing great.
That sounds good.
Okay, now we have Miss Therese. Now, I know we're trying the technology. Miss Susan, I'm going to impose on you. She's on the link, not hearing anything. What can we do? Are you able to hear us? So, Miss Therese, are you there? Okay, so she's telling me that she's on the link, but she's not hearing us and not hearing anything. Okay. All right. See how it worked earlier? All right. Okay, Mr. Reese, we'll get you connected up with the headset and everything shortly, and then Susan have you all set away. So as we get started, any sort of initial thoughts? Maybe Miss Natalie, you first. Any initial thoughts about where we are, what we're facing, what we're looking at going down the road?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Sterling. I think that this is definitely a really uncertain times right now, and there's a lot of anxiety and stress. But I think that I always like to see things in a positive way, and when I'm talking with clients and working with people through this, one of the positives is we're all going through this together, and I think that that's something we need to keep in mind to stay as a community and know that we all kind of have the same those days where it just kind of is not fun for us, or it's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel stressed, it's okay to have some worries. And so those are some of my first thoughts.
Okay. And what about Miss Wynn? Any initial thoughts?
I can't really hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let me see if I can fix that. I want to wish my Swedish or any of the other languages that you speak were good. I want to speak Vespese, so let me try it. Now, I was just asking, any initial thoughts from Miss Natalie, and what about you in relation to how this sort of present situation that society globally, for the most part, is finding itself? We're now, I don't like to use the word lockdown because I don't like that, but we're confined to our homes. We're being told where to go, when to go, with whom we can go with, how we can go, when we have to return. A new normal is emerging. Any thoughts in relation to that?
So we are facing a very difficult time now. I mean, none of us is used to this situation or been to any of this before. So I guess we're just trying to find a way to, get around with it and just roll with it, I guess. I mean, it's hard, but I think it's very important to find a structure and routine so you don't get nuts on yourself or, your household.
Yeah, that is the thing, try to adapt and adjust so that you're not exactly spinning your wheels in one spot. Miss Ida, from your perspective, I mean, you've heard what Natalie and Wynn has shared. How do you see this?
I actually didn't hear what Wynn and Natalie said at all, so I can't answer to that. But it's a really different situation for all of us, all over the world. So I mean, I guess this. In the beginning, we just thought it was going to be for a couple of weeks, but now you're realizing that this is a bigger problem, and you just have to get in the line and do what they tell you to do, I guess. But it's a really different situation that we did not expect.
Yeah. Now, before we continue, just for my benefit and to our listeners, we're utilizing technology, trying to get everybody, get everything set up. Miss Natalie, are you able to hear the others okay?
Mr. Schilling, I can't hear them very well. It's a little fuzzy.
Okay. Well, we're gonna figure this out at some point. So not very good. What do we do? All right. Well, we'll see where, and we still haven't been able yet to get Mr. Reach to join us on what we've effectively called the link. You know, I don't know whether that's the missing link or not, but we'll see. With that though, are you able to hear me okay, Miss Wynn?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, with that in mind, being students, I think we are, for some of us, students of life. For some of us, we pursue particular studies because we have what we believe is this either a calling on our lives, or B, a desire to do something, perhaps to follow in the footsteps of others, or a service that we want to perform. But as students here in Cayman, could I respectfully ask of you, one, how do you find it thus far? And then two, given the recent changes and you sort of come in the midst of it, how are you finding it now?
So, like, we are interns here, so the intern didn't turn out the way we wanted, or I guess no one could accept, knew this would happen. So there's a major difference. I mean, at first, we were having our lives, going to work, do the 9-to-5 job, you know, and now we're sitting inside of our house and trying to help out our agencies in the best way. But it's going okay. It's not what you expected, but it's kind of cool to be in this situation. It sounds horrible, but it's really cool to be a part of this. And I mean, I'm with the Red Cross now, and they're doing an amazing job. So the staff there are really amazing. So I'm really glad that I could be a part of this.
Okay, and I think one of the interesting things too is that we get a chance to be able to look at it from the perspective of, you know, people who have experienced life here and life other places, whether as students or whether as sort of travelers or as even employees or employers. Now, Ms. Ida, as you look at things here and following what is happening globally and in particular back home, first, from the Cayman perspective, what has it been like as you've been there for a short time?
Sorry, Sterling, I couldn't hear your question. Can you repeat it for me?
Of course. And I do apologize for that. I'm always one of those that believe technology is, you know, this good thing until it disappoints me. So
yeah. There's always a positive and negative, right?
Yeah, man. These are one of the few times where you don't want any positive, but you welcome the positive. I don't know. No, I was asking Ms. Ida from that, as a student, and you're here now, you know, your colleague was sharing that the internship has so far not turned out the way you were anticipating. Yeah. But as you watch what is happening globally, seeing the situation unfold locally, you're in a new land. What sort of, how do you see, what sort of things, and how is it affecting you? How is it impacting you, and how do you see it going down the road, say a year from now?
Well, it's impacting us in many different ways. First, it impacts us professionally because we're here to learn, and we can't really do that in that way that we were supposed to. So that is, of course, one thing, but also that we cannot be close to our family in Sweden. That's also a big thing. So it's impacting us in different ways, and right now we don't know if we will get home. So that is also one big thing. But, well, yeah, I guess we have an uncertain future, both in our education and like privately. But I guess we have each other, the three of us, three girls. So I think we make the best of it, and I'm glad we have each other in this situation. That's the most important thing, I think.
Me too, you know, and I'm very grateful that you share, and I'll be very mindful of, you know, not to perhaps engage in too many things, but do not say or share anything that you don't wish. But I'm hoping as people listening that will see from two perspectives, those of us that either have or had or still have our very own children and families and other jurisdictions. We're now disconnected. And as you were sharing, you don't know if you'll get back home or when you'll get back home, and how long will we be in this state. And that can have a bearing on all of us.
Yeah.
Miss Natalie, as a seasoned sort of professional, so you've, despite being very youthful and energetic and enthusiastic, you've put the formal studies, like many of us, behind us for now. Everything we do now is just for edification. You can look at life maybe a little bit differently. Or do you see it in the same perspective?
I do. I mean, I think it's very difficult. Like I said earlier, I think some days it just kind of feels like it's really overwhelming and it's hard. But in all reality, when I work with clients, what I like to teach them is what's in your control. What can you control? And one of the main things you can control is your attitude and your perspective on things. So it can either go one way or the other. And keeping positive, keeping happy can actually, it helps your whole body. It can help your immune system. And I think that can help with everything. I just read in a study that if you laughing 10 to 15 minutes a day can also increase your immune system. So little things like that really make a big difference. It's just taking the first step and doing things to help change your perspective in a positive way.
Yeah, well, I tried laughing a lot too, and thankfully it was just my family around. They were looking at me kind of like, okay.
Yeah. That's okay. Then it makes them laugh, and so that helps. You're helping your family.
Oh, well, that's. I'm glad you were encouraging. Now I want to come back to Miss. Well, sorry, was someone wanting to jump in? All right. Before I come back to Miss Wynn, I think we have Therese join us. Therese, are you there?
Yes, I think I'm here now.
Okay. Yeah. Again, apologies. I keep telling people, technology is great, but it's a horrible master. A good servant, but a horrible master.
Well, I'm here now.
Okay, but thank you again for being so gracious with your time, and to you and your colleagues for sharing with us. We were asking them, I'm not sure how much you were able to hear. Just wanted initially your take on the situation as it is. How do you see it? How it's potentially affecting you, and how you see it potentially playing out in 6 months or a year, even just in the short term.
I think it's hard to say right now, but I think it's really interesting to see the different approaches between Sweden and here. But I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but hopefully it's going to end up as Sweden wants to, that it's going to go slow and then increase and then go back slow, but I'm not sure, actually.
Okay.
So I'm on two different sides, I think.
Well, it is an interesting time. If you would permit me, I think one of the best ways sometimes to understand things is to be able to compare and contrast. And I think Sweden has been, well, maybe I'm just a fan of the nation, but it has been willing to do things its way and to demonstrate that, it may be different, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that it's wrong. Could we share maybe initially some of the differences that you've seen, perhaps initially with the cultural approaches to education, to participation, to socialization, that you would be accustomed to back home versus what you may have seen here in other Western nations? And then maybe we could talk about the specific approach to the management of this pandemic. But the first ones, my boss, Miss Susan, she reminds me she's the boss. Let's think about that question. We have the break, and then when we come back, could we perhaps pick it up? All right, we're going to pause, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion.
Digicel is all about giving customers more convenience, more peace of mind, and more flexibility. Do more with the new My Digicel app. Buy plans, pay your bill, track your credit, check your data, and monitor your account. It's easy to use and has everything you need in one place. It's time to simplify your life, so go ahead and see for yourself. Download the new My Digicel app today. More made simple.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
For nearly 20 years, Kingsport Center has been the heart of the Cayman fitness and wellness community. In order to ensure the welfare of all, we are temporarily closed until further notified by the Cayman Islands government that it is safe to reopen. During these trying times, we encourage everyone to maintain a healthy lifestyle, mind, body, and soul. We look forward to continuing providing you with world-class service in the very near future. Remain strong and continue to show the world the power of Cayman unity. Kingsport Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Hello, Cayman. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Social distancing. Well, that means you're to keep a distance of 3 to 6 feet away from the person next to you. Or in layman's term, if you can see the color of the eye next to you, you're too close. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
The public is advised that the hard curfew, which is currently in place, prohibiting access to all beaches and the coastline, has been extended. This means that all beaches, including the coastline, will remain closed until 5 a.m. Friday, 17th April.
There is to be no swimming, snorkeling, fishing, exercising, or any activity on the beach or along the coastline during these times. Private owners with beach access are not allowed beyond the high water mark. This restriction has been imposed by the Commissioner of Police and will be strictly enforced. Stay home, Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And just a quick reminder that we're expecting the daily press briefing at 2 p.m. So when that happens, we'll go to it. But until then, we'll continue talking. It is, after all, Talk Today in the studio via our technology. Well, physically, it's me, myself, and I. And on the line, it's Natalie, Miss Therese, Miss Ida, Miss Wynn joins us. Just prior to the break, ladies, thanks so much for your time. We were asking the question, sort of compare and contrast, how things in Sweden are and were, and then relative how you're finding them here. Who would like to maybe jump in first? Miss Wynn, Miss Therese?
Wynn?
Yeah, Wynn?
Are you talking to me now?
Yeah, we're going to be careful when we talk to you, right? No, perhaps you and then...
Then I'm going to put you on the hot spot, right?
No, you can do that later, but not now. And I would like each of you, as you're comfortable, to weigh in when we look at Sweden, because I think many times we're seeing other societies, and in particular our Nordic countries, how they live, how they do things so much better in a sense, right? So when it comes to the cultural sort of similarities and differences, what can you share with us?
I think it's actually there's a lot of. I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so we got. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, I was hearing both. So, who wants to go first?
We can go first.
Miss Wynn.
Okay, so I guess I would say that I've noticed more differences than similarities. There's a huge difference on the gender perspective, I would say. We don't talk about gender in the way you're talking about gender here. I guess there's a culture difference, and I mean that is not particularly a bad thing, but I think that's a huge difference that I've noticed and been reflecting on a lot.
Okay, so and when you do, like we hear, as I reflect on what you're sharing, gender, we see. How do you refer to it in Sweden, so that we get an understanding of what you mean?
I mean, I guess that's a really hard question, but I guess how things are structured in some ways, like maturity leave. That is one of the things that I've noticed. From my understanding, you can get 3 months here, and then get paid the first month, and then et cetera.
Right.
Then you can get that for a whole year, and it has to be equal divided from the
Okay.
So from the mother and the father. So I guess that is one of the difference I've noticed.
So more equal as opposed to divided among sort of male, female, mother, father. We tend to put labels and terminology to things.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Reese, your perspective.
I couldn't really hear what Wynn was saying, but was it in terms of us as a country or when it comes to the coronavirus?
Well, let's look at it first in terms of the country, the similarities and or differences between how things are there in Sweden and what you notice in here. As Wynn was sharing, the problem more striking differences, but you share from that perspective the cultural similarities and differences.
Well, when it comes to like the society in general, I think because I'm thinking about the coronavirus in general in Sweden, because the government in Sweden has a big faith on like the society and the people in Sweden. They trust that they make good judgments and stuff, and we also rely a lot on the government. So I think as a community, everything is a lot about the people in general, and that we make good judgments and stuff. So I think here in Cayman it's the same, but you also like put a restraint on the people, because you know that maybe in a whole, like a big amount of people, you don't take that responsibility in the same way. So I think that's good what Cayman does in this situation. But I also understand how Sweden is thinking about our own responsibilities and stuff.
From the Swedish perspective, then, do you think that there is a great sense of trust by the people for its government?
Yes, I think so, because I think there's a big, like you say, a trust in the government, and that what kind of things they decide is okay and it's going to work out, and they have the the knowledge to take these decisions. So I think the trust is huge in the government.
Right. And would you say then that the government in return not only has confidence and trust in the people, but shares information in a accurate, timely way involving the citizens, so that there is this exchange of information, there's understanding of expectations, and there's a desire to work, together?
Well, there's on the news all the time about everything that is going on, but I think the difference is that here in Cayman, you have these press briefings every day, and I think they have something similar in Sweden, but it's not like the what is it called, Premier Minister? I'm not sure.
Right.
That's he has just done like one speech since this happened, and that is a huge thing in Sweden. So it's not in the same way that the government is sitting down and speaking about it, but there's a lot of information going out all the time in Sweden as well.
Okay, different channels, but still information. Now, I want to ask specifically, we will talk more about the COVID sort of pandemic, but Miss Ida, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, were you able to hear anything when Therese shared?
No.
I have it recorded for you. I'll send it to you next week.
Okay,
No,
that's good.
I was just asking from your perspective, what similarities or differences culturally, were you witnessing, and then we can also talk about the maybe the approach that Sweden has adopted for COVID, but either or.
Yeah, so they told you about the cultural differences, and do you want me to talk about the corona or COVID-19 differences?
Yeah, or both, or both, yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I heard something about Therese talking about the government, and I think when talked about the like a genus perspective
Mhm.
of things. So that is huge things that is different, but also, I mean, the obvious thing is the weather. I mean, man, the weather here is awesome.
It's not too hot.
We have snow and everything. So no, but jokes aside, like it's a really different country. So we have many things that are different, and I can't come up with something more than the government and the genus right now, because that's kind of what we talk about here at home. It's our main focus because that is a really big difference. But if I would talk about the COVID-19 situation, Sweden has a more loose approach, I think many would say. I don't think Sweden thinks that it is loose. I just think that they feel like it's a longer perspective, both for the spreading but also for the economy, than the rest of the world, who
Mhm.
has a more aggressive kind of way to deal with the situation.
And I think this is, as you're sharing, it's indicative of their cultural ethos, but also, how they're analyzing the intellect, the resources, and the experience that they have there, and it helps us. Now, I'm being mindful that the press briefing is scheduled for 2 p.m. and we're just 3 minutes out. As much as I'm enjoying this, I don't want to impose on you. Maybe I could ask each of you to share quickly sort of any final thoughts you may have in relation to this whole pandemic or anything else you want to share. Who would like to go first? How about you, Miss Ida? Start with you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to say. My last word. Well, I can say we heard the Minister of Health talk Swedish a couple of days ago, so maybe I could say the same thing with the right pronunciation.
Would you please?
Yeah. Stanna hemma, Kevin, förutom om det är nödvändigt.
Samma hinna keman foton
That's good. You gotta work on it a little bit more, but it will soon come to you.
With a little bit more tutoring maybe, huh? Well, no, he did a great job. But thank you. And this is where we learn. So I hopefully we get a chance to have you guys join us for more. Now, Miss Wynn, what about you? Any sort of closing remarks, thoughts you may want to share?
So could I do a shout out to the Red Cross? Because I think I'm representing them now. But no, seriously, if you want to help out in your community, there's many ways to do that. You can find the link on our Facebook site and help out in any way that you want and be a part of the response. So, I mean, we're in this together and we need all hands on deck now.
So true. Yeah, together makes it easy and better and safer, all right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much. And Miss Therese, what about from you?
Well, I just want to say that I really trust both governments, and I think and I hope that Sweden is doing the right thing for them, because I'm not sure what's best for Sweden, but hopefully it's going to go well. And also, I enjoy Cayman, and I trust the government real much here. So just see what happens.
All right. Well, you guys stay safe, and hopefully, as you shared, together we can, find the best resolution. Miss Natalie, what about from you?
Yeah, Mr. Sterling. What I kind of started off saying, I think that, yes, we're going through this together as a community, but I also want to make sure that you give yourself grace and to be able to support yourself and what you need in this time. So whether that is eating the piece of chocolate or taking an extra long nap, that's okay, because this is a time for us to slow down and just to take advantage of that, knowing that we're all going through something. But I also wanted to mention, if you need to talk to a professional, there is a free mental health hotline, and I'd like to mention that. That is 1-800-534-6463. And that is for anyone who is struggling and needs to talk to someone that's a professional. Please give yourself some grace to call and talk to someone if needed.
All right. Well, thank you. And again, that's 1-800-534-6463, the mental helpline. All right. Hey, thanks very much, ladies, and I'm hopeful that we'll have a chance to interact again. Hopefully not always via the telephone. Maybe you can join us in our studio. So
yes, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Thank you, Mr.
the
Sterling.
wonderful weather that we have, and thank you all very, very much. All right.
Thank you for having
Have
us.
a good day. Be safe.
Be safe. All right, with that, we'll pause and take our headline news. The press briefing is scheduled. If it is, we'll go straight to it. If not, we'll come back. What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present. Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Some good financial news for Cayman. Moody's this week has completed its review of the country's credit rating. They have reaffirmed their AA3 rating for the Cayman Islands with a stable outlook, which is no change from the last rating in 2019. What it means for Cayman as we move through with dealing with the crisis is that if we find ourselves in the situation where we have to go out to borrow money, we're going to be able to borrow at very favorable rates, which will be extremely beneficial for the country. Finance Minister the Honorable Roy McTaggart said this is significant for the government. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. President Donald Trump's name will be printed on paper checks being sent to millions of Americans struggling financially because of coronavirus. It is the first time a U.S. president's name will appear on a federal government handout. And South Korea has been holding an election unlike any other. Voters wear masks and stood at least 1 meter apart. They had their temperature taken, disinfected their hands, and wore plastic gloves. Only then were they given their voting slip and allowed to head into the booth to cast their ballot. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today.
but I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. And as we continue to leverage technology across all platforms, from our education to our employment sort of domains, we're finding more and more. And a couple of quick comments we want to share, but just a quick reminder, we're expecting the daily press briefing momentarily, and we will cut to that as it happens. Thanks to all of our guests thus far for working with us. Just then, we tried something different to see how we could make it work. Certainly grateful for the intellect, the enthusiasm, and the industriousness of our guests for willingly sharing a perspective. And maybe from there we will come away with a couple of things. One, a willingness to look, what they say in that animated film, look beyond what you see. Look at things through a new lens, embrace new perspectives, willing to critique and analyze. Our education systems ask us to instruct our children so they become critical thinkers. Perhaps as consumers we become more discerning. Perhaps as parents we pray for a greater wisdom and insight and counsel. And I appreciate our guests just prior for sharing with us so that we can have it. It's going to be some open line, and as I shared, once the press briefing starts, we're going to get to that right away so you don't miss a beat, as it were. It's not intended to be, one of those daily soap operas. So hopefully the information, you always find it to be timely, accurate, and credible. Hopefully as leaders, whether politically elected or appointed, or whether assumed or otherwise, that we take it with a great sense of responsibility, prepared to be accountable, and prepared to do the right thing. So if you want to share a thought with us, maybe there is someone that you wish to, commend. Maybe there's a query. We posed one earlier. Hopefully, again, in our partnership with the HSA, Dr. Swan, we asked, the strains of the COVID, virus here. Do we know what they are? Maybe that'll be asked and answered at some point. But let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, because I'm just calling, let Mr. Christian call in this morning. He's talking about the churches, Because what I'm saying, it's like I am looking, the liquor stores are open. All these shops are open,
Mm-hmm.
And you have churches that bigger than Foster's can hold, like six. How many people? Like 6 feet apart, like Foster's. You can hold. You have many churches bigger than Foster's,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, it's like nobody remembers God, like Mr. Christian said this morning,
Right.
It's like, it's work, did they know that COVID-19 or sin will be worse than COVID-19? Did people realize that?
If I may ask you, though, and I hear what you're sharing, and there are many who've asked, well, if you can have this open, why not the church? If you have that happening, why not the church? But for many of us, even those of us who are very religious in our practices at church, we have a lot of church but no community. We have a lot of religion but no relationship. The church, as big and beautiful as the building may be, it doesn't seem to be a temple of God. We don't seem to have the reverence. We don't seem to have the same right spirit when we enter. So is there a way that this particular exercise could bring us closer in our personal relationship with God?
Yeah, but he said when the elders are sick, you must call them the priest, the pastors, in whatever, and he'll be there as well.
Right.
He'll be there. So if some people get into church,
you do not forsake the assembling of ourselves, right?
Pardon me?
Do not forsake the assembling of ourselves.
That's right. Because I'm saying, he said to call on whatever, and he'll be there.
Right.
On the elder, and it will be in the midst.
Right. But two things then, and I appreciate what you're sharing, because I think that and I won't speak for any other society. I won't speak for any other people. Just those who identify as being Caymanian, as it were. Right. If you can identify as being a corn or a sweet potato. I don't see why you can't identify as being a Caymanian. Remember, long ago, we would have these home groups or whatever we call them. We met in our homes and in small places for fellowship, for Bible study and the like. We're now at home, we're forced to be at home with our families. Could this not be a wonderful time to renew that fellowship with each other and with God?
Yeah, because what I'm saying really, even some of the families don't even know God. You have your family, but some of the families do not know God as well.
Right. And
you're trying to press onto them, you're trying to, if you can, but some of them don't even know God.
Fair enough. And with that in mind, we have, I'm sure, there are very little households, very few households where there isn't somebody in a household with a cell phone or some technology, some means. Not saying that every single one has that, but probably very few. We're sharing prayers and jokes, we're sharing little things. Maybe some of the technology, whether it's just a video call, whether it's just a regular call over the internet or otherwise, where we can use that as a way to minister in the absence of physically being in the church building. Let the body of Christ be the people who are so assembled.
That's living Christian homes, and in the other homes, some people don't even remember God. Some people don't know there's a God. You know that?
Right.
You have a lot of people talking about God and say, "Oh, he's not coming now. We're in our business, We can talk about that later,
Mm-hmm.
And I see in the Pizza Hut. Let me tell you something, because I promised to say that today. I saw in the Pizza Hut, it's like 6 to 10 people are rubbing shoulders to shoulders. You know that? I wish they would go and see it. And they're not going to catch anything from each other. So why can't the pastors and the preachers and the elders and the priests, whatever, can go in the church, even 5 of them, and say, okay, we are praying for this coronavirus or whatever it is. Why can't they do that? Why can't they allow the church door to open? But sir, as I said, I don't have much to say, but you know what? As I said, the sin are worse than coronavirus. And I said, the government have to be very careful, because, they're flying in God's face. And I want to tell them that God is not clean.
Could I hear you going to ask you for any other thoughts you want to leave with us?
Pardon me?
Is there anything else that you would want to share with us?
No, not really.
Okay.
I just want to share about the places that is opening and it is flying in God's face, sir. They're not allowing themselves to allow God in the island. It's a prophet that was here one time, she said, I hope I'm saying, no, and the next thing, nobody is going to die here. Did you know that? I am not God that can tell you that. Nobody's going to die here from that sickness here. What I tell you, listen if you hear about it, death from this island. But one thing, God is not here right now, but you know what? When he returns.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mom, for your staying in faith. We are now have the press briefing, and we go live to that. Are we ready for it, Ms. Susan? And it is the daily press briefing. Just a few seconds out, I'm told. So stay tuned for Radio Cayman.
Today's press briefing on the coronavirus. I'm Donna Bush. Welcome to our CIGTV viewers, as well as those joining us via social media platforms and on Radio Cayman. To begin today, we go straight to the Honorable Juliana O'Connell-Connolly for our prayer. All right, and we apologize for that. The minister still has her mic on, and she'll open up her mic in just a moment for us. But thank you for that. We'd now like to welcome our panelists, His Excellency the Governor, Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin, as well as Minister of Health, the Honourable Dwayne Seymour. As well, joining us in our studio are the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. John Lee, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Byrne, as well as HMCI Director, Danielle Coleman. We also have our sign language interpreter, Ms. Carolyn Powell. Also joining us via Zoom today are the Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connell-Connolly, as well as her Chief Officer, Satanya Cacho, Director of the Department of Education Services, Mrs. Tammy Banks DaCosta, and Lynette Monteith, the Deputy Chief Officer of Compulsory Education. We go now to Dr. John Lee for the very latest.
Good afternoon. There are 56 reports to be provided today. There are an additional 6 positive people, 4 of whom are contacts with previous known contacts, and 2 of whom have locally acquired COVID-19 disease. That brings the total tested to 636, the total negatives up 50 to 576, and the total positives to 60. There are 19 symptomatic people, 24 who are asymptomatic, and there are 6 admitted patients. 4 of these are at the Health Services Authority, and there is 1 patient additional to that I reported yesterday who was admitted yesterday. There are also 2 further patients unchanged at Health City. The numbers on Little Cayman and Cayman Brac are unchanged, with 1 positive person who is well, and there are 6 recovered. As far as the incident in the apartment complex in Georgetown, this is now ended, and the requirement to isolate people has been removed. All of the people that were tested at this complex were negative, apart from the person who is voluntarily staying at the government facility, and they're all symptom-free. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We have also joining us via Zoom members of the media, and we'd like to go to one of them now to ask a question of Dr. Lee. We'll start with the Kamalian Times, Mr. Ralph Lewis.
Good afternoon, Doctor, and thank you for that report. My question is in regards to testing. In the past, you've said that you have decided, or the government have decided, to move away from the criteria set by WHO. Can you tell us the criteria that you're using at this point?
Haven't quite done the move. We will probably be doing so this week. We're working through the process of how to expand the testing so that people will be able to be tested not only for a wider range of symptoms, but also in a wider range of sites as well. So we're anticipating announcements about that later this week. As far as the change from the WHO protocol is concerned, it's relatively strict in that you need to have respiratory symptoms, you need to have a fever, and various other things. But we will be relaxing that so that any healthcare professional can make their professional judgment about whether somebody needs to be tested.
In New York, we've seen that they've made the wearing of masks mandatory. Is it that time for us to do so now?
I think it's around the corner. The production is still underway, and we're waiting for the masks that have been produced to be distributed. I understand several thousand have been made. The Red Cross has been great in helping us to distribute the material, encourage the seamstresses, and we're in the process of getting them cleaned and distributed. Once we do that, I certainly think things such as public places, supermarkets, banks, places where people congregate at fairly close quarters, they should wear them in those venues.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. We're now going to go to April Cummings from Radio Cayman. April. April, are you there? If not, we'll move on to Wendy from CNS. Wendy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Donna. I just have a quick question for Dr. Lee regarding the lab technicians. We spoke about that yesterday because of giving them a day off because of the pressure that they've been under. Is there any way that you can access or source more lab technicians? Because it seems as though that's going to be a critical area if we're going to expand testing to any measurable degree. Thank you.
I sort of touched on that the other day, in that we are recruiting people able to do it at Health City, as well as having trained extra staff to be able to do that at the HSA. There are also a couple of potential recruits to work on the molecular side of things. That's the most technical aspect of the process, who we're hoping we might at least get one of the 2 of those to assist us. So we're trying across the board to increase that human resource, and we are achieving it. We have added to those numbers.
Okay, thank you for your question, Wendy. We're going to move now to Radio Cayman's April Cummings.
Hi, Donna. Thank you very much. Dr. Lee, the question is somewhat broad, but we've had a couple of listeners ask us to just get your assessment on how things are going overall. We've had a lot of change in the past few weeks. What's your take on how we're doing in terms of our COVID-19 response?
That's the loaded question, isn't it? So I think we're doing, I feel confident that we are on the right track. I felt happy today, and I've not felt happy for quite some time with regards to this work. I'm not talking about in general. But I shared a graph with Premier and Governor, and the numbers of new patients we have each day, they're not in a climb. They were quite high last week, the week before, but they've dropped down to a reasonable level, and I'm hoping that will stay at that level and maybe drop off eventually. That's what we're planning for. So we have not seen this an acceleration that we are worried about. It is possible it could still come, but I am hopeful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we'll move to Reshma from the Cayman Compass. Reshma?
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon. Dr. Lee, apologies, but can you just provide us with an update on the recovered patients? I missed that bit with the audio.
Yes, so 6 recovered. I think on the website now there's a qualification to explain what we mean. It means they had tested positive, whether they had very mild symptoms or more symptoms than that. But then they have had 2 negative tests at the end of 14 days or after their symptoms have resolved, whichever is the longer. So that remains the same as 6. And clinically recovered, we have 5. That number's going to change tomorrow. It's going to increase, I know, because I know few people are doing well. So that number should improve tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Just my question that I wanted to get in. Given the vulnerability of the elderly, has public health started testing those who are residing in the Pines and the Home for the Aged?
No, it is definitely in our sites, but the public will have noticed, no doubt, that we announced that the testing would increase, and we still have yet to actually do that. It hasn't escaped my notice either. It's just a question of getting everything ready. So it's a question of training the people to do the testing. They have to be trained to make sure that when they do the testing, they don't actually inadvertently, if somebody is positive, spread the condition. So those steps take time. They take agreement. They need people to work together to meet and so on to learn how to do things safely. We're also trying at the same time to manage our use of personal protective equipment because we don't wish to expire our stocks. Because you can imagine if we suddenly test thousands of people, if you need to wear new PPE for every single patient, you've suddenly gone through several thousand sets of PPE. So we're trying to see if there's a way we can manage how we do things safely as well as to conserve our supplies so that they will last for the duration that we need them.
Thank you very much, Reshma. Dr. Lee, I have a couple of questions from members of the public. One is if and when restaurant and supermarket frontline workers may be considered for testing since they seem to come in most contact with persons outside of their homes.
I'm hoping that that those two groups are doing everything that they can and their employers are doing everything they can to protect them so that if they have to, for some reason, come in close contact, that they're wearing PPE and they've watched a video and been taught how to use PPE. But I'm also hoping that actually they're not. They're keeping their distances and using the PPE appropriately. It is certainly on our minds. It's on our agenda that if we are able to really ramp up testing, that a lot more wider groups will be tested as you're suggesting.
Okay. Also, another question that you may have answered at some point. Once a person is tested positive, how long are they contagious? How long? Yeah.
It is likely to be 14 days or less, which is why we retest at 14 days. I have to say a lot of, I would have said a third of the people are being tested at 14 are still coming back positive. So we have to wait a little bit longer as well. So But it's also possible that even though they're testing positive, they're not infectious. And that's all part of the lack of understanding we have around this disease because we don't know it well enough. But erring on the side of caution, the test picks up viral particles, the evidence of viral RNA, viral material. And if there is viral material, we are taking the assumption that they are infectious and we will not release them until they have had 2 negative tests.
And one final quick question. As of today, how many people are currently on a ventilator?
Just the one at the Health Services Authority. He's actually doing better than he was yesterday, and yesterday he was doing better than he was the day before. So,
okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Now we're going to call on the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Byrne.
Good afternoon. Overnight briefing. So quiet overnight, no significant issues of a policing nature to report. Crime remains very stable and the hard curfew continues to operate well across the islands. Little Cayman overnight, no issues arising. Cayman Brack, 11 vehicles stopped by police, no breach of curfew detected. Separately, 1 pedestrian was intercepted by police in breach of curfew and warned for prosecution. Grand Cayman overnight, 159 vehicles stopped by police, 1 driver found in breach of curfew and warned for prosecution, and separately 1 pedal cyclist was found out and about in breach of curfew and warned for prosecution. Today from 6 a.m, 16 persons have been detected in breach of soft curfew and 1 person was found in breach of hard curfew. The majority of the persons found in breach of soft curfew were drivers breaching their assigned days, that is, not in the assigned A to K alphabet range. And separately, the person found in breach of hard curfew was found swimming at East End with his dog and has been warned for prosecution. Business at supermarkets this morning, pharmacies, gas stations and banks is brisk, with operations being well managed, well operated, and social distancing protocols are being followed. Our helicopter and marine units remain deployed on extended tours, monitoring marine and ground activities. 2 notes to the listening public. One of them concerns our essential services personnel that are exempted under Regulation 8 shelter in place. And just to note that the exemption applies only while you are on duty in your official capacity. Exemptions are not of a general nature. These are some of the reports we're receiving at the command centre. The next note relates to business owners in Georgetown central area. Our crime trend analysis has identified a small number of commercial burglaries where premises closed for business are being targeted for small items including cash, food and alcohol. 1 person has been arrested for some of these offences reported. We would, however, advise all business owners to check on their premises to ensure that they are secure, and the RCIPS will be available to assist in this regard. Looking at the running totals for persons in breach of curfew since the 24th of March, 285 breaches recorded to date, 140 files have been completed and submitted to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions for legal ruling. 30 rulings have been received to date, and 4 persons have appeared before the courts charged with breach of curfew and other predicate offences. A reminder, we return to hard curfew this evening between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning. During this period, no unauthorised persons should be out and about away from their homes. If you are not an exempted person as essential services, please stay at home. Police mobile and static patrols will be in place throughout the night enforcing the curfew. Nothing further to report today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We have a question for you from Wendy at CNS.
Thank you, Donna. Commissioner, can you just clarify for us the A to Z split and and whether or not that applies to people exercising? We've had a few people say that they've been told to go home or they've been warned for prosecution when in fact they were going to exercise, but it wasn't their day for the supermarket, so it wasn't their letter day. And the other area of clarification is the swimming or going into the water. If you've entered the water from a beachfront property, i.e. if your own yard is a beachfront or coastal front, and you've gone into the water to swim, and then you get caught, is that allowed? I think there are a few anomalies that people need clearing up. And if you could do that, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, I'll certainly try, Wendy. So the exercise is Monday to Saturday each day. It's not confined to the alphabet listing. Shopping is confined to the alphabet listing. Shopping at pharmacies, supermarkets, gas stations and banks, A to K and L to Z. Exercising is Monday to Saturday. Sunday is excluded as it stands at the moment. In terms of swimming, swimming is absolutely prohibited by order of curfew. There are no exceptions to swimming in the public beach water at all.
Okay, we do have another question from Reshma at the Compass.
Thank you, Donna. Commissioner, you mentioned 4 cases went before the court. What have those penalties been? Has it been determined, or what can you share with us in relation to these cases?
So I mentioned that the 4 cases went before the courts. It included an element of charge with breach of curfew, but also other predicate offences. 1 case has been disposed of, which I reported, I think, on last week or the week before, with a 4-month sentence imposed strictly for the offence of breach of curfew. The other ones will go through a trial process. They'll go through the natural progression through the criminal justice process for hearing, so have not been disposed of yet.
Okay, Reshma, thank you very much for that question. Commissioner, thank you very much. We're now going to go to the panel, beginning with our Honourable Premier, Mr. Alan McLaughlin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'll start with my customary report on the world stats regarding the progress of the virus throughout the globe. Total cases have now passed 2 million, 2,015,480. Total cases recovered past 500,000, 507,782. The United States of America continues to be the epicenter of the disease currently. 622,412 cases, 8,526 reported overnight. Total deaths now 27,549, up an incredible 1,502 overnight. Spain, things are improving there. 177,633 cases, up 3,573 overnight. Total deaths, 18,579, up 324 overnight. Italy also improving, 165,155 cases, up 2,667 overnight. Total deaths, 21,645, up 578 overnight. Things are still very grim in France, 147,863 cases, up 4,560 overnight. Total deaths, 17,167, up 1,438 deaths overnight. Germany continues to do incredibly well, 133,209 cases, up 999 cases overnight. Deaths, I hate to say this, but only 3,592 and up only 97 overnight. The United Kingdom still grappling with the virus, 98,476 cases, up 4,603 overnight. Total deaths, 12,868, up 761 overnight. In China, 82,295 cases, up only 46 overnight. 3,342 total deaths, up only 1 overnight. Canada, 28,205 cases, up 1,142 overnight. Total deaths now at 1,006, up 103 overnight. Netherlands, 28,153, up 734 overnight. Total deaths, 3,134, up 189 overnight. India, reporting 12,320 cases, up 833 overnight. 405 deaths, up 12 overnight. Philippines, 5,453, up 230 overnight. 349 deaths, up 14 overnight. New Zealand, 1,386 cases, up 20 overnight. 9 deaths. Trinidad and Tobago, 114 cases, up 1 overnight, 8 deaths. Jamaica, 105 cases, 5 deaths, up 1 overnight. In the United States, New York, 203,123 cases. I don't have the report of new cases overnight. 11,586 deaths, up 752 overnight. And I'll just mention New Jersey, which is right next door, which is getting into some serious problems themselves. 71,030 cases, up 2,206 overnight. 3,156 deaths, up 351 overnight. In the British Overseas Territories, no change overnight. Anguilla still at 3 cases, Bermuda 57 and 5 deaths. British Virgin Islands 3 cases, Montserrat 11, Turks and Caicos 10 cases and 1 death. I just want to say a few words again about where we are with respect to managing this crisis and the way that we see it going. There are still, and no doubt will continue to be, grave concerns being expressed on social media and directed to me and other members of the government about their situation with respect to businesses and the reopening. Positive, trace people they may have been in contact with and test them. That is the only way that we will be able to make this community safe enough to really reopen business. If we do not, if we yield to the pressure to simply reopen the economy because the number of cases is relatively small, there's no question in my mind or in the mind of those who are close to this that we will look like a miniature New York or Italy or Spain. The virus will fly through this economy, through this community. And unlike places like New York, where there are hundreds of unclaimed bodies, there will not be one single unclaimed body in Cayman. We will know who has died, and each person will be near and dear to a number of us. That is why we are taking this very, very stringent approach, because we know from the experience that we see other countries dealing with, that to do otherwise will result in mass tragedy. We all learn best from experience, my father used to say, but it doesn't always have to be our own experience. Smart people learn from others' experience. And that's what we are trying to do. I hear all the pleas, I hear all the cries for more access to the beaches, for access to the beaches again, for access to pools, for more access to time to exercise, all of those things. Believe you me, we all want everyone to have access to those things. There are many things I would like to do myself that because of this, I can't do. But I want to be around in 2 months' time, in 2 years' time, to be able to have all of those experiences. And so for the time being, I hope everyone else will understand this, need to make these sacrifices to try to ensure that the virus does not get in to sustain community transmission. If it gets into sustained community transmission, the only way that has been proven to stop it or to restrict it or to limit it across the world is an almost complete lockdown where virtually no one is allowed out except on a very limited basis to access food and medicine. And if we get to that point, as I've said to my community group this morning, and I regret to say this, but those of us who are alive and well enough will spend a lot of time watching funeral ceremonies being streamed live from the funeral homes. Because if we get into community transmission of this virus, hundreds will die. The worst case scenario that PHE gave us, if no interventions were made, and we have made many interventions, was almost 1,000 people projected to die in this small community. I want us all to think on that. I know I've earned my title as the Grim Reaper, and believe you me, it gives me no pleasure or satisfaction to be called such. But I am trying desperately with everything I know how to impress upon all of us that we have to take this seriously. We have to put aside our needs, our wants, even our needs for a relatively short time, we hope, so that we can suppress this virus and we can open back the community and the economy, and while it rages around us, get on with some semblance of normalcy. One final morbid observation. I don't know how many people have been ill or injured to a point where they struggle to breathe, but I have. 12 years ago, I came off my bike at almost 30 miles an hour and broke my collarbone, 3 ribs, punctured my right lung, which subsequently collapsed. I was in intensive care for 2 weeks with a chest tube and oxygen. Believe you me, trying to breathe when your lungs don't work is a fairly frightening experience. I haven't had COVID or been around anyone who's had it and who's struggled with respiratory issues. But if it is anything like trying to breathe with a punctured lung, believe you me, that's not the way I want to die. So enough of my morbidity, but as I say, I'm trying to impress upon people that the measures that we are taking, though restrictive, and some may say harsh, are not aimed at making people's lives difficult. It's aimed at saving lives and trying to get this community back to a situation where we can all get on with our lives with, as I keep saying, with some semblance of normalcy. I ask, I pray, I beg everyone to please cooperate. Please help us get through the next few weeks, and then I think we'll be in a much better place. We still do not have any evidence of sustained community transmission. The 6 positives, although worrying from one perspective, 4 of them are contacts of known positives, which means that our tracing is working well. But the loose ones, where we don't know where it came from, are still troubling. And that is why the more we can stay home, the more we can keep away from other people, the greater chance we have that we can still snuff out the virus and not get into sustained community transmission.
Thank you, Premier McLaughlin. His Excellency.
Yes, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. And I want to just share 100% what the Premier just said. I know we're asking a lot from you, but now is not the time to start loosening up the measures that we have in place. We need to keep them going, but we can be positive and we can have hope, as the Chief Medical Officer, John Lee, said. And our strategy is working, and the numbers of cases are relatively small, but they are there, and that is why we cannot relax at this moment. So we do have to stick with this. So please, everybody, continue to stay at home as much as you can. And I want to just refer to the evacuation flights and announce where we've got to on that. There's good progress to report. So we will have 2 flights to Miami on Friday. There will be a World Atlantic Airlines charter flight, which will bring some returning Caymanians and permanent residents to Cayman, less than 100 of those, and they will have to, as part of coming back, agree to go into our quarantine facilities for 14 days. A Cayman Airways flight will then go out to Miami with passengers, but will come back empty to protect the crew of Cayman Airways. We have 2 flights to Nicaragua on Saturday, Cayman Airways flights. About 160 people will be going out on those. They will not bring anybody back. We will probably have 2 flights to Canada next week. That's still being worked on, so I can't give any more detail on that yet, but we'll let you know as soon as possible. Discussions remain underway for Honduras, also Dominican Republic, and I mentioned Jamaica yesterday. That still remains challenging, but we remain focused on that as well. If there is more demand for people to leave, and we think there is, then we can arrange more flights. I know there's been a lot of people ringing the helpline today, and a lot of people have not been able to get through because of the demand. So do keep trying. The number is 949-2311. If you're ringing in the States, there is a number also 1-800-422-9626. So please do keep ringing the helpline, and we are putting more staff on that. And thank you to Cayman Airways for all the arrangements there. I'll leave it there today because I think we have the Minister for Education. I want to allow time for her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Minister Seymour.
Thank you, Donna. In the essence of time, good afternoon, Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman. This coronavirus is definitely a serious phase in our lives and all around the world. Whatever phase in our life is bound to teach us something valuable, and it depends on whether we understand the lessons or just turn the page. This COVID-19 is definitely a lesson for us all. Scripture today is from John 15 and 3rd Psalms. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so you will be my disciples. I lay down and slept, I awoke, for the Lord has sustained me. I will not be afraid of tens of thousands of people who have set themselves against me all around. God has never called the qualified. He qualifies those he calls. Today I want to give a shout out to DVES. They are taking care of all the government vehicles, including law enforcement, etc. We thank you for all that you do, DVES. Also want to give a shout out to the primary school teachers. You all laid a foundation down. Thank you for what you continue to do, helping us build character for this country's future leaders. In the essence of time, because we have the education minister on today, which is very important. Translations, our effort to reach as many persons as possible that live here. Please stay home. And Croatian, it's Molin te ostani kuće. And Malaysian, and Malay, it's Sila tinggal di Roma. Those who focus on what is good does not expect perfection from us, from any of us, but only our best, and that's what we are trying to do here. It's about respecting the dignity and worth of every human being. It's a responsibility, not just a state, but of each individual. It means that you don't put anyone down and don't give up on anyone. It means you bring out the best of your fellow human being. The truth is, dignity is not determined by talent or ability. The story about a young man named Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company, when he was asked in New York, what did he know about automobiles and building them? He replied, not much. I'm just an engineer and my experience is in combustible engines. So the reporter then turned and asked him, so how are you going to run a successful business without any car building experience or background? Henry smiled and simply said, in my office, I have buttons on my desk. At each end of each button, there are persons who know things all about car building. My only job is the building of the engine and the rest. I hired a team of experts for every other aspect of the car, and I've been more efficient than any other car manufacturer with my entire team as opposed to just me. So the moral of the story is, I also have an amazing team. For my team amazing, I thank you, I salute you for accepting the task of keeping Cayman safe with your captain here. In the essence of time, there's much more I could have added today, but I will yield.
Thank you, Minister Seymour. We now go to Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly. Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly. Can you please unmute your mic? Minister, if you could unmute your mic.
I have. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yes, we've got you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I start all of my meetings with prayer, and I'd like your indulgence to do the same at this time. Father God, we thank you for your love, for your mercy, for your grace, Lord. We thank you for your assurance and your faithfulness, your blessings that are indeed new every morning. And Lord, in the midst of this chaotic and uncertain time of coronavirus, Lord, we know that we stand upon the solid rock, Lord. There is no other name. The psalmist David, in fact, said, some call on kings, some call on chariots, but we call on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so we call upon you today. We thank you, Lord, for our government. We thank you for the wisdom and the guidance that you've given our Premier, the Minister of Health, His Excellency the Governor, the Commissioner, the CMO, and all others on the front line who are working assiduously to ensure the safety, health, and well-being of our people. Lord, you made no mistake when you founded us upon the seas and established us, oh God. And so we stand on your promises today, Lord. We thank you for the effectual, fervent prayers that are emanating from various households, Lord. It seemed as if there was a demonic plan to close down the churches, and what the devil didn't account for was that churches have now sprung up in many, many thousands of houses across these Cayman Islands. And Lord, we cry out daily. We thank you for those faithful Christians who are sacrificially fasting and praying, Lord. Although there's not a national day of prayer and fasting as such, Lord, we have taken it upon ourselves as Christians to petition the throne of heaven. And Lord, as you lean over the balconies of heaven today, we pray, oh God, that in your love and your mercy that you would bestow into us, Lord, the normality that we've been accustomed to. And Lord, we pray that out of this, that we would find ourselves in a Psalms 51 situation where David's psalm, when he hit rock bottom, he said, will thou not revive us again? Lord, we have strayed individually, we have strayed corporately, we have strayed as a nation from the old paths. And Lord, we've got to a place in our country where we were almost ashamed to herald, to exalt the name of Jesus Christ. But Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come to you today in boldness, standing on your promises, because we know a man who can. Lord, you've answered many, many promises. You've taken us through Ivan when we call upon you. You've taken us through Paloma, and we know without a shadow of a doubt you will take us through Corona. So we pray that as our people unite, Lord, and they extend their hands of neighborly compassion, Caymanian kind to those in need, because there are those in need, Lord. We pray that you'd help us to come together in a knit that cannot be broken, Lord, so that as we look back in history upon this time, we can remember and we can share with our children, oh God, how you've taken us through these stormy waters, but brought us safely on the Jordan stormy bank. Lord, for all that you have done and for your anticipated blessings, we want to be careful to magnify your name and to thank you, for we ask it in Jesus' name, amen. Donna and colleagues, I want to do this session in a question and answer. I want to thank my technical team led by Satonia Hatcho, Tammy, Miss Tammy Banks Hopkins, and we want to thank all the others who prepared the answers, and then I'll add a synopsis at the end there too. Firstly, what measures have been implemented to ensure student learning throughout the school closures? Answer, it is not possible to monitor the learning occurring in every single household. Teachers and principals are in contact with parents and students. In many cases, teachers also have to care for their own children and support their learning while at the same time trying to teach and support their classes. When the contingency plan was drafted, it was recognized then, as it is now, that student learning during this pandemic would not consistently be at the same high level as that is normally provided in our schools. This is due to a number of factors, including but not limited thereto, family needs, support available in the respective home, stress levels of families, and the health of families, to name a few. The focus is on developing various methodologies to make up for the time lost. The Ministry, Department of Education Services, and schools are all working diligently to ensure that students will be able to make any educational gaps up when our educational institutions reopen. Question number 2, what help is available to parents, both working from home, who are unable to supervise their children's learning? Some schools, public and private, are able to provide online classes to students. This is not always possible, especially with the younger children who will still need to be supervised by parents in order to utilize the various devices. In many cases, teachers, as mentioned, have their own children as well to take care of, but they're still going beyond the call of duty to reach their children in their respective classes. However, parents are also encouraged to contact their class teachers or school principals to inquire about the availability of additional support. And I'd like to include right here that many parents up until now have not responded to the survey. Less than 1,500 has responded, and there are over 5,000 students in our public school system. And so today we use this medium to beg, to ask parents, please step up to the plate and respond to the principals so that we can have an accurate assessment of which children, which households are still in need of the various facilities and assistance to allow our children to have the best possible education. 3, what support is available for parents with children and special needs and learning difficulties? The answer, parents are encouraged to call their individual schools to inquire about additional support. Learning packets and online support geared at specific student needs have been provided and still can be provided. In-person therapeutic services, however, are not available at this time. Specialists such as speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, school inclusion specialists, counselors, and educational psychologists have been reaching out to students and depending on their caseload, also providing one-to-one support. Next question. What provision is being made for kids with no internet connection? Answer, paper-based learning packets have been provided for students who have no internet connection. School packets were distributed, as mentioned, when school first closed, but we're asking again for parents to please go to the schools and collect the uncollected packets for your children. Parents are encouraged to contact the principals of their respective schools should they have no further questions. And if in the unlikely event you're unable to get anyone from your school, please contact DES Ms. Tammy Hawkins, who is more than happy to assist, as well as Ms. Bell. Next question, where can parents access books and other school supplies as supermarkets have very limited supplies? Only essential businesses are currently operating, as you would full well know. Supermarkets and pharmacies have some school supplies available. Online resources are therefore encouraged, as there are a range of online books and other educational resources available free of cost. Next question, how many children are there that don't have access to an iPad, computer, or laptop? That figure is still being determined, as there was a limited response to the survey that the Department of Educational Services sent out. Laptops, however, are currently being provided for students who are scheduled to sit external exams in July and Key Stage 2, years 6, 10, 11, and 12. Some households also do not have internet access, and this raises additional issues. Hence the reason I reached out the last time I was on to ask our ICTA providers to come on board and partner with us, because education has to be everybody's business. We also have an issue where there's one computer at home, which is being shared by parents who are working at home, and other children where it's multiple children within respective families. Next question, what measures have been put in place to assist students who do not have access to computers and whose parents are unable to assist with them with their schoolwork? Answer, paper-based learning packets, again, I repeat, has been made, sent home. Those who have not picked up, please pick them up at the schools. Paper-based learning packets should be at a first level for the student to work more independently without limited support. Parents are also encouraged to call their respective schools should they have further questions. Next question. Some children were not able to take their textbooks home and are finding it challenging for this reason. Is this a widespread issue, and what is being done to address this? Let me just say that I was not aware of this situation until the question came in and my team gave me the answer. I'll read the answer and then I'll make a comment. Schools have prepared paper-based and online resources for students. We understand that the virus is able to stay on certain resources for a period of time, and there was concern about this exposure for the return of the textbooks when schools reopen. Sections of many of the textbooks and workbooks were utilized to prepare the paper-based resources. What I will say to that, colleagues and the listening public, is that as of now, I am directing for the schools to distribute all of the textbooks to their students. And if we have to buy textbooks again, so be it. My children must learn. Next question. How are the activities of teachers being monitored? Who is tracking daily classes, as some teachers are reportedly not very active with their students online? Answer. Principals have utilized a range of methods to monitor teachers' work with students. This has been included, but has not been limited to meetings, but also sharing work and online checks. I would also ask our Inspector of Education, Mr. Peter Carpenter, at the appropriate time to do a forensic audit to make sure that our teachers are doing as we have set out in our plans, despite the circumstances. If it needs to be tweaked, to please notify Ms. Tammy or Ms. Monteith or the chief officer, so that we can tweak accordingly, because this learning of the students is still the paramount consideration of the government. Next question. Has any of the network providers offered to provide a portion of free data for single parents or those who would qualify as low-income household? The answer, we have a small team from the ministry and DES currently working on a project with the private sector, and Flow and Logic has been involved in discussions as it relates to internet access. Next question, what is the ability of the Cayman Islands residents to use homeschool programs if regular schools are no longer in session? The answer, The decision to homeschool is a personal one made by many parents if regular schools are no longer in session. However, they would need to contact the Department of Educational Services at NICKI, NICKI.Samuels, SAMUELS@gov.ky. Let me repeat that contact, NICKI.Samuels@gov.ky, to register their respective child as being homeschooled. The department also checks the programs being utilized for this said homeschooling. Online teaching standards. Next question. Is there a standard requirement for each government school to comply with regarding the online teaching? There is no standard requirement, as the personal circumstances of individual homes differ. Online teaching works well in households where students have access to computer, internet, and support from parents or guardians. We also have some households where education, sad to say, is not a priority, as families are trying to manage meeting basic needs, securing food, abuse is going on, loss of employment, illness, sustained stress, mental health issues, etc. Education teams have been providing support with online and paper-based materials, whilst also delivering meals to homes to try to support their own families. And I'd like to thank those MLAs who have come on board to help us with providing various meals in their respective constituencies. Next question, is DES willing to implement a sole online platform format for all public schools that involves a live interactive class session? This will take time, but it is indeed a goal that is achievable. Where there is a will, there is a way, and together we will find that way. UCCI question. Can the minister provide an update on UCCI regarding online classes? Answer. Since the announcement of the closure of educational institutions, UCCI prioritized continuity of quality public tertiary education by offering online classes and providing all student services remotely to its student body of over 1,200 students. Currently, UCCI students are preparing for online final exams occurring 14th through the 20th of April. UCCI's student body, both on Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, are now registering for online classes for the summer 2020 semester, and current students are finishing the spring 2020 semester. Online class offerings in the summer will include classes for multiple educational pathways, including associate and bachelor's degrees, certificate programs, and TVET courses. To host online classes, UCCI will utilize digital platforms that include Microsoft Teams and Blackboard, amongst others. Facility upgrade question. Can the minister address the issue of schools regarding the maintenance and cleaning of the schools to ensure that the unoccupied classrooms does not develop mold, which will later be a health issue for the students when school resumes? The answer. The facilities coordinators, superintendents at DES, are conducting weekly checks on their schools during the period of closure. They are specifically looking out for any AC issues, leaks, alarm malfunctions, and any other issue that may arise from an unoccupied campus. Cleaning of the various campuses are focused around high contact areas where meals are being prepared as part of the school meals programs and bathrooms used by the security guards. In addition, a deep clean of the facilities is planned to take place on every school property before the commencement. School reopening. Question. Reopening of school. How will this be coordinated and the timetable in which the public can expect that this will be done. What public health guidelines will be put in place for schools when they eventually reopen? Schools will be closed until further notice. Let me repeat. Schools will be closed until further notice as we continue to monitor the spread of COVID-19 virus. With additional cases being reported, most on a daily basis, it is not therefore possible at this time to provide a timeline. We hope that with continued social distancing and additional methods being put in place by our Honorable Premier and others, we as a community, we will be able to stop the spread of the virus and enable the country as a whole to reopen for business and school in a timely and expeditious fashion. Next question. When schools reopen, will you have all students stay back for this year? The Ministry of Education and the Department of Education Services are considering a number of options for the reopening of schools. This is dependent, however, on the length of the time that the school remains closed. In addition to education provision, we recognize that students' emotional, mental health, and well-being will also be significantly impacted by this pandemic. Given the impact this will have on learning, the resumption of schools cannot, and I emphasize, the resumption of school cannot be business as usual. Stress management, establishing clear routines, maintaining effective communication will all be critical and crucial for both students and teachers. Awareness training for staff and the provision of resources that support responses to various behaviors will also be needed, as well as support from our educational psychologists, counselors, etc. Next question. Has the ministry given any consideration to moving the summer vacation forward and beginning the new school year earlier than usual? Again, the Ministry of Education and Department of Educational Services are considering various options, including but not limited to the aforementioned. However, moving summer vacation forward would critically impact hundreds of students who are due to sit external examinations in July. Moving on to graduation. Question, will there be any graduation this year? If so, how will the ceremonies be conducted? Answer, high school graduations were scheduled, as you would know, for the end of August this year. We are, however, continuing to monitor the spread of COVID-19 in our community and will provide updates as deemed necessary. Private schools. Question, is it lawful that private schools are charging full fees while children are not in school when they are not providing proper online platforms, just links to mediocre free website or short weekly Zoom meetings? Answer, this is a contractual arrangement between the parents and the respective private schools. I therefore urge all parents to contact the principal and or school boards of the relevant private schools. We are nonetheless soliciting a formal legal opinion from the government's perspective. Question, can families who are not getting the standard they require remove their students from private schools and sign them up into the government homeschooling platform? The answer, students can register for government schools. This is, however, dependent on available spaces or home schools, given that the home schools have adequate and suitable resources. Switching from a private school to a public school may prove problematic at this time for students, as the necessary assessments to ensure the smooth transition would not be able to be conducted at this time. Teachers may struggle to meet the new needs of students who would wish to transfer at this time, without having the opportunity to test and or examine previous educational experiences. A high influx of students to public schools as a method to avoid private school fees is therefore not recommended at this time. Private schools have been made aware of the range of concerns that have been presented to the government by various parents. The ministry has asked them to be considerate of the parental needs and to contact parents directly to provide support. And I would also add that it has to be fully appreciated that the private schools still have to pay the remuneration, that is the salaries for the various teachers and administrators during this closure, as there was no finite time for the closure. COVID-19 is still out and about, so it has to be a mitigated and a united collaboration, and I so urge both private schools and parents to so do. Next question. Are the private schools also required to have online classes? If so, what are the prerequisites? Part A to the question, if not, when will government apply standards for virtual learning at private schools that must be in place for all schools? And what will be the consequences for not meeting those standards? The answer. Currently, there is no standard requirement as the personal circumstances of individual homes differ. Online teaching works well, as you would know and appreciate, in households where students have access to computers, internet, and support from their parents and guardians. We also have some households where education, as mentioned, is not a priority, and they're trying to juggle and manage other priorities such as loss of job and income, seeking of food, getting in line at supermarkets, and the list continues on. Next question. Will families get credit if schools did not provide learning support and parents had to pay for their own resources in addition to school fees? Again, this will need to be discussed with your individual private schools, as the government does not set school fees for private schools. Next question. Can government not mandate an at-cost school fee for profit schools rather than the current 100% fees? Again, government does not mandate school fees for private schools. However, I would give the undertaking to ask my team to research and see what obtains in other jurisdictions to see whether we need to draft appropriate legislation. And if the response is indeed the affirmative, I will give the undertaking to take the matter to my caucus and government to so achieve the same. Final question that I've received, are the private schools still getting their government subsidy? The answer, yes. The Private Schools Association received $1 million Cayman Island dollars in subsidies from our government for the 2019-2020 academic year. This amount is split between private schools that are part of the association and the association distributed among those so registered schools. That is my update as it relates to education. I would like to give a quick update for agriculture. I have been receiving a number of queries and concerns from our farmers, and I've asked my policy agriculture team and the Department of Agriculture to draft me a cabinet paper to take to my colleagues in caucus and cabinet to see how we can best assist our farmers, in particular as it relates to feed for livestock. The government already highly subsidized the feed for farmers, but because we are in hard and soft lockdown, some farmers whose sole income was from construction have no income coming in. And if we are to move towards national food security, and that I believe is not optional, it is now a must, we must ensure that we secure the reliability and the quality of our farming that we've worked so assiduously over the years to maintain this level. So I am sure that I will get the full support from my colleagues who have been supporting other sectors because we have the one goal, and that is to come out of COVID-19 better than we so entered. I thank you for this opportunity to share, and I stand available to answer any further questions.
Minister O'Connor-Connolly, I have a few from the public. The first one is some folks are saying that they understand that government scholarships have been canceled. Some of them have been canceled, and students are being asked to actually pay by the schools. And they're asking if this is a fact, and if so, why was that decision made?
If, in fact, they cancel, it has not weighed to me as minister, but I will give an undertaking to find out as soon as we finish the press briefing. I can, however, say that I have been seriously considering the situation with the scholarships, and I'm actually watching to see how this month evolves and we progress with getting to a negative position with COVID-19, because I have a recommendation that I do not wish to share at this particular time that I want to put forward to the chairman of the Education Board and also to the Premier and my colleagues, because it is not business as usual. Education is expensive, but ignorance is even more expensive. And I am prepared, together with my government support, as I've been getting all along, to ensure that our students will not have the added stress of trying to find out how to pay for the next semester.
Okay, one other question in relation to some students who may be still overseas, didn't have a chance to return home because they had exams and for other reasons. They may have family members who are financially strapped at this time and have been reaching out. How are those students being assisted? As they may just be a few of them, but the question is still there.
I have asked you, the minister down to the secretariat, to do an audit of those that are remaining, as well as those that are locally, because some of those would have similar issues, so we can see how to best help. I know a questionnaire has been sent out to those students based on the information that have been channeled up to the minister, to me as minister. I'm not yet in receipt of a report back from them. So if there are students out there who have received these surveys, please take time to send it back so that we can make considered decisions on how to best assist our students.
Okay, thank you, Minister. If we have no questions from the media for the Honourable Minister, I know we have a few questions for the rest of the panel. We'll begin with Wendy from CNS. Wendy, are you there?
Thank you, Donna. Sorry, I'm here. Yeah, sorry, the mic was muted. I couldn't find the mouse. I just have a question regarding the airport. Actually, we've had a few people contact us about activity that they've seen at the airport, and I'm sure everybody knows you can track flights online. So would it be possible to explain what's been happening? I think of them may be airlifts or medivacs. There seem to be queries about flights to Belize, flights to Mexico. But another interesting question that's come up is government giving any consideration to allowing private airlines to airlift people out of here that want to leave, that are foreign nationals?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. Sorry, Wendy, I didn't hear the question. I was reading another message.
Could you please repeat the question for us, Wendy, please? Thank you. Wendy, are you there?
Private
jets to take, private planes to take people.
Yeah, sorry, that was my fault. I just pressed the mute button by mistake. Okay, it's just two basic questions. One, can we get some explanation for the air activity that's been going on at the airport? People are talking about flights to Belize, flights to Mexico. I'm sure some of them are air ambulances or whatever, but if we could just get some explanation about what's going on at the airport. And secondly, we've some people are saying that they're stuck here, but they do have access to private jets.
Wendy,
will that be allowed?
Wendy, one moment, please.
Can you do the questions one at a time? They're all very long, and I can't remember all of them. So let's do them one at a time. I have no knowledge of any flights to Belize or Mexico. I have some knowledge of a number of air ambulance flights that came in here, and one or two that came to evacuate people who live here and who had medical issues that needed to go to Miami. But I have no knowledge of any flights to Belize or Mexico.
Wendy, can you go ahead with your second question, please?
Sorry, again, so I didn't know it was finished. The second question is regarding that very thing. If people are lucky enough to have access to private jets, is government considering allowing those jets to come and collect people that are, expatriates that so they can leave?
If they want to go, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Wendy. Now we're going to go to Reshma from the Compass.
Thank you, Donna. My first question is for the Premier. We are 2 days away from the end of the curfew regulations. Can you say how soon we will hear how long it will be extended for? And I'll let you answer that first.
Well, that has to be done in consultation with His Excellency the Governor and the Commissioner. I don't know that we've decided how many days, but it'll certainly be extended.
Thank you. Now, we've had 6 additional cases. How much cases do we need to get to before we get to a full lockdown scenario?
The issue is not the number of cases. With respect to that, the issue is when there is evidence of sustained community transmission. What we are seeing, thankfully, are what Caymanians would call 1-1 cases. And in most instances, we've been able to identify where the individual contracted or where likely they contracted the virus, and to trace those contacts, isolate them, and keep doing the tracing process. So as Dr. Lee said, he is, I think, relatively happy right now. We are collectively worrying a great deal about the Easter Friday beach binge, if I may call it that. We won't know the results for probably another 7 to 10 days. And even then, it'll be next to impossible for us to trace where they actually acquired it, because there's just so many people on the beach together. So that is our major worry right now. The situation with the Georgetown complex was a great worry the last couple of days, but that is proven by testing that complex is clear. So that's one big issue, one big concern removed. But it is these gatherings of people that present the greatest risk, absolute greatest risk of the virus being passed on and us getting into sustained community transmission. But we're not there yet.
Thank you, Premier. Now, earlier today, and I think overnight, an email letter from the Belize government was being circulated announcing that it's buying tests from Cayman and as many as possible. Can you address this? Has the government entered into any agreement with Belize government or any other governments to sell test kits, and how many?
I'll go over this for the 4th or 5th time. We have the advice of Dr. Lee, the CMO, and the public health team that 100,000 kits will be a sufficient buffer for Cayman with its population of roughly 64,000 people. We are therefore open to selling on to countries that need them, the balance that we have. We have sold and delivered 20,000 to Barbados. We are still in discussions with Bermuda about quite how many of the 35,000 that still remain in London they will actually take. But we have inquiries from St. Lucia, we have inquiries from the Bahamas, we have inquiries from Belize, we have inquiries from Jamaica, we have inquiries from the Turks and Caicos Islands, we have inquiries from Falklands. So there are many people who need and have asked for some of these tests. We are trying to exercise the judgment of Solomon in deciding how many we can give to each, or let each country have, of the remaining number that we still have available for onward sale.
Okay, so by your answer, we have not entered into any agreements yet with quantities.
We have indicated to, or I can say, because I am the one who has spoken, I think, to most of them. I have indicated to the prime ministers who spoke to me what I thought we would be able to allocate, given the numbers that we have. But we haven't yet formally agreed with any other countries except Barbados and Bermuda. And in fact, the Bermuda one, as I say, we're still talking to them because we may be able to retain some of that 35,000. They may not need all of those, so that we can help other countries with those.
A question has come in regarding how many tests are actually in each kit, because the question is being posed, we have 100,000 kits, but can that sufficiently cover retesting and so forth? Can you speak to that?
I'll let the CMO speak to it.
Thank you.
I would just say, though, that we employ very competent people, and believe you me, we have not gone to the measures that we have to, at this stage, compromise the situation for the Cayman Islands. I would hope that people have that much trust and confidence in what we are trying to do and the people that we have carrying out these important roles.
Thank you. So each of the boxes of reagents, of which Cayman Islands bought, the original batch was 200. They can all do 2,000. They can all do 100, which is where we get the 200,000 from. So each box does 100. There's also the question of our capacity of our labs and the expiry date. So we have to, and also the likelihood of us moving to different forms of tests and the likelihood of when supplies will become easier. And if you think about it, supplies of all of these things will become easier as the months go on, as manufacturing ramps up. So we've tried to take all of these matters into account in deciding how many we could use reasonably in the time scale. They also only have an expiry, they only have a year's lifetime before they expire, so we have to take that into account as well.
Okay, Reshma?
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee, for that answer. I think that clarifies a lot of the concerns that keep coming at us from the public. I have one final question for the Premier that's not related to COVID, but related to a national issue. Earlier today, we learned that the appeal case for the Cruise Board referendum has been set for May 6th. I just wanted to ask the Premier if he thinks that it's still feasible to hold a referendum at the end of this year, or if this appeal is something that's just being pursued for a legal principle rather than a practical output.
I have not been informed of any such matter. I'll have to get a report from the Attorney General before I'm prepared to comment on that.
Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you, Reshma. I do have a few questions from the public for our education officials. The first one is in regards to the collection of homeschooling, home learning packages. How does that work in regards to parents and curfew? Is anyone from the ministry able to answer that question? Minister O'Connor-Connolly?
Perhaps if I could ask Ms. Cacho or Ms. Tammy to zoom in, because they're doing the operational part of it.
Okay, I'll go to Ms. Cacho. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I have it. Thank you, Donna. Okay. And thank you for the member of the audience that asked that question. The Department of Education Services has been in touch with the police services. What we'd like to do is have persons pick up packets on the days that they're allotted to go to the supermarkets and pharmacies. Those details are still being worked out. And as soon as we have that information available, we will make it public. Okay. I also know that principals and teachers have offered to deliver packets where families are unable to come in to collect.
Okay, also earlier there was a question that I posed from the public in relation to canceled scholarships. Can you speak to that?
We have not canceled any scholarships. The Scholarship Secretariat has reached out to all students, and they've had a number of responses from those students. We've also, as Minister said earlier, issued a survey so that we could get a better understanding of individual students' needs. We recognize that students will have financial difficulties. Some may not have been able to finish their courses, and some may not have been able to finish at the level that they usually perform at. And we want to take all of these things into consideration when making recommendations to Cabinet about how we support our scholarship students.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, one final question, actually. And this relates to the closing of schools. Some parents, particularly those who have preschool age children, want to know how this will affect them, whether they fall into the whole realm of all school closures.
Donna, if I could respond to that. When we issued the closure on the 20th of March, if my memory serves me right, we took particular pain to use the terminology, all educational institutions, which includes every single solitary faculty that teaches, whether it's from 1 day to 100 years.
Okay, thank you, Minister O'Connor Connolly. Do we have any final words from our panel? No,
Donna, if I could just interact.
Sure, absolutely. Please go ahead.
As it relates
Minister.
to the scholarships.
Yes, Minister,
I've
please.
just got word from Shari from the Secretariat that says that if, in fact, any scholarships have been canceled, they would have been related to the fall semester based on academic or lack of academic achievement, but none has been canceled because of the coronavirus situation.
Thank you, Minister, and to your team. Before we go, a reminder, again, that you can go online to gov.ky /coronavirus for answers to your most pressing questions. Of course, we'd like to thank everyone who's involved in today's press briefing, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
The Cayman Islands government would like to remind the public that e-services are available for vehicle license renewal, trade and business licensing, police clearance, and other transactions. Skip the line and apply online. E-services are user-friendly, efficient, and most important, you can apply and pay from the comfort of your home. Visit eservices.gov.ky.
As the world grapples with the challenges of COVID-19, difficult times require difficult decisions. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman would like to encourage the community to remain vigilant, respect the soft and hard curfews, which have been established for our collective welfare. By practicing good hygiene, social distancing, and home isolation, we can ensure that the community resumes its vibrant way of life soon. Do your part, Cayman. Stay safe, stay home, save lives. This message was brought to you by the Lions Club of Grand Cayman.
More than ever, we need to ensure our friends, neighbors, colleagues, and family are staying well with social distancing. That means being creative. Call them regularly. Create WhatsApp groups. Offer to assist with shopping or running errands. You could use an app like Nextdoor to see if your neighbors need assistance while the world grapples with the latest challenges. Be Cayman kind. Cayman Insurance Center. For 45 years, they have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future. If you need someone to speak to during these challenging times, call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433. Cayman Insurance Center. They care about you.
Football is at the heart and soul of our community, but this is not a time for football. The Cayman Islands Football Association would like to remind the community that the sooner we get through these uncertain times, the sooner we can get back on the pitch. Whether you are a footballer, fan, or any other athlete, this is the time to stay at home for your own safety and the health and well-being of your loved ones. Soon come, we will find ourselves in a strong position growing the game and improving football across the island. This message was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Football Association. #Stay at home.
Hello, K-Man. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Stay at home. Stay home. No get about it. Stay your backside home. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind.
Radio. With the switch of a dial, radio brings you tragedy, comedy, entertainment, information, education, a whole world at your command.
Give me some sound over here.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show.
Radio. Proudly sponsored by the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Word up, and we in effect. Keep on listening.
Super Jam. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for Merengue Town.
And by the Lions Club of Grand Cayman, serving the Cayman Islands for 48 years.
I can see you looking at me from the corner of my eyes, checking on my
5 alive.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I see pretty people.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I see pretty people. Tonight, we go dance on the road. We'll be honey in the sky. We deserve to get drunk, have fun, and turn the party up. We only live in one life, and we jump and we whine and we bump and we grind and we dance and we sing and we scream it all night and we laugh till we cry. When we fall, get back up all night. I want you to whine like you ain't got no worries. No time for bad mind, 'cause we not got no worries. Oh baby, just whine like you ain't got no worries. We have a good time, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right. It's our time to let go and free our minds of all the worries and stress. We deserve to stay up all night, get lucky and something else. We only live in one life, and we jump and we whine and we bump and we grind and we dance and we sing and we scream it all night and we laugh till we cry. When we fall, get back up all night. I want you to whine like you ain't got no worries. No time for bad mind, 'cause we not got no worries. Oh baby, just whine like you ain't got no worries. We have a good time, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I see pretty people.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, I see pretty people. I want you to whine like you ain't got no worries. No time for bad mind, 'cause we not got no worries. Oh baby, just whine like you ain't got no worries. We have a good time, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right, 'cause we not got no worries. No worries, no worries. And we live it up right, 'cause we not got no worries. 'Cause we not got no worries. 'Cause we not got no worries. 3, 3, 3, 4, 5 alive.
Hello, K-Man. I'm Quincy Brown. Anybody else getting mixed up with all these new coronavirus terms? Me too. But guess what? I've watched the press conferences and I've read the press releases and I've seen all the social media posts. Look here, I can help you out. Stay home. Leave Granny alone. Darling child, I mean we can't be visiting our old people because they're more compromised. We gotta keep them safe. Una got it now? If Una want to stay up to the time with what's going on, there's only one place for the real information, the Cayman Islands government. Visit gov.ky/coronavirus. Now remember, keep washing your hands, keep following the rules, and keep taking care of each other. Saving lives is Caymankind. The public is advised that the hard curfew, which is currently in place, prohibiting access to all beaches and the coastline, has been extended. This means that all beaches, including the coastline, will remain closed until 5 a.m. Friday, 17th April.
There is to be no swimming, snorkeling, fishing, exercising, or any activity on the beach or along the coastline during these times. Private owners with beach access are not allowed beyond the high water mark. This restriction has been imposed by the Commissioner of Police and will be strictly enforced. Stay home, Cayman.
In Jamaican, it's do. Please turn your yard if you want to live. Do please turn on your yard if you want live. It's do please turn on your yard if you want live. Turn on your yard, please turn on your yard. Do please turn on your yard. Do please turn on your yard if you want live.
Stay home, Cayman.
Area code 345 LSN overtime.
I going down there right quick. I go down there right quick.
Area code 345 LSN overtime.
Bobo, I'm going down by Walmart to pick up a fish. You want to come over?
It's like it's my first time. Hands in the clouds high. Can't live without this. Let's go, let's go. Flags around me. Love, no boundaries. We do it like this. Nothing but road in front me. Here we go again. 'Cause we champions. Left all the pain behind me. This is my moment. 100 deep, we no business. Hear the bass coming from a distance. Turn it up, we go all day. Wake up in the morning and it replay. Out of many, one country, feel so united. Cause we champions, left all my pain behind me. So I can feel this moment, yeah, yeah. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten. We gon' we turn it up, we never turn it down. We are the champions, we gon' we shut it down. We gon' we turn it up, we never turn it down. We are the champions, we gon' we shut it down. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten. It's like it's my first time. Hands in the clouds high. Can't live without this. Let's go, let's go. Flags around me. Love no boundaries. We do it like this. Nothing but road in front me. Here we go again. Cause we champions. Left all the pain behind me. This is my moment. Hey. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten. Ain't nothing like this and no one can resist. And we jump and we wave and we rip and we fatten.
What's up, K-Man? It's your boy Rico Orlando, and you're listening to LSN Area Code 345.
Give it up, but you wanna go ahead and give it up.
Super Jams Showdown.
It's Jeffrey Wilson. Alright. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun. Woo! Mama always told me that many girls will come and go. But when you meet that special one, you better hold on tight and don't let go. And from the moment that I met you, baby, ooh, somehow I knew that we had something special. And I hope you felt it too. And it feels so good to give your heart to someone you can trust. Someone who loves you for the right reasons. It's like that, it's like that. So every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. Every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. Baby girl, you really got me, ooh, you got me good. Cause every time I go to bed at night, all I dream about is you. And as a matter of fact, it blows my mind how in love I am. Cause girl, it gives me butterflies when you say that I'm your man. And it feels so good to give your heart to someone you can trust. Someone who loves you for the right reasons. It's like that, it's like that. So